Futures downside here to start things off. Brand new week. Welcome in. Big earnings week to come. It's all about tariffs. Unfortunately, this morning, markets across the board, stocks across the board, in the red here this morning in a pretty big way. 1.6% right now for the NASDAQ. Kind of chopping around as we get going here to start things off. The SPY or the S&P, basically the same, 1.5%, just kind of chopping around at the lows right now as overall global stocks negative, the Asian market, European stocks as well. Opening the new week to the downside this morning as everyone tries to digest exactly what happened over the weekend. Canada, one of the first to get hit here with 25% tariffs across the board. Mexico and China thereafter following suit, Trump following suit with similar actions against both of those. More to come this week, it sounds like anyway. So we'll see what happens as far as the overall markets. The reaction is concerned as we get going here this morning and everyone kind of takes a breath and realizes that maybe there shouldn't be such a big move downside. We'll see. I mean, it's only 1.8%. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Palantir, trying to get back to the upside here, still 1.8%. Earnings tonight after the close for PLTR.
They hit all-time highs again last week. I feel like we've been saying that a lot, Brendo. The AI name really getting a boost from obviously more belligerencies all over the world, the AI tailwind as well. Lots to talk about. Crypto below 100,000. We got to keep an eye out on that as the market looks to move away from risk assets at the moment. NVIDIA is going to be in focus, obviously, with China slapped with another 10% tariffs. The automakers, though, Brendo, decidedly red. GM getting hit harder than Ford as they have more exposure to Mexico, obviously. And then Apple and some other names as well are going to be in focus today.
Yeah, I mean, we saw those automakers react the worst, I guess, going back to last week. I mean, on Friday, it was 1 hour, it was happening on Saturday, and then the next hour, it was March 1st, and then it was back to Saturday. Yeah. So here's GM right now, 6.8% right now for General Motors. Huge gap down. We're trying to get back above 46 bucks right now and retake that. Ford, not much better. Wow, $9.75 here for Ford. Down 4% to start things off. I mean, Tesla worth a look as well this morning. Also red to the tune of 3.5% after a huge day on Friday. I mean, we gave it all back going into the close and into the weekend, but at least a positive start. Happy Monday, guys. Lots to look at today.
Yeah, happy Monday. I mean, is it a happy Monday? But
if you're a Lakers fan, it's probably a happy Monday.
I don't even. Well, I woke up on Sunday and I was just like, what just happened? Like literally, like the Lakers just got 25-year-old Luka Doncic for street clothes, Anthony Davis, and I was like, what happened? Like, what happened? It's kind of like when you wake up today and you look at crypto. What happened?
It's like, what happened? You know what, though?
What happened?
What's crazy? What the craziest thing about this?
I don't know.
Well, first of all, that deal is nonsensical.
Dallas probably will win somehow. That deal.
At the same time,
2029 first round pick is going to be wicked.
Who knows how it'll play out? What's wild to me about the market, though, is like, so when we sold off on Friday, was like, okay, confirmation that this was all going to go down. So you would think that, all right, well, at least to some degree, that's what had been priced in. Like, okay, first announcement that tariffs are coming in, confirmation. Let me look at GM. Confirmation that the tariffs are coming in. Oh, the tariffs are happening. Let's just drop another 5, 6, 7% to the downside. It just shows me that, I guess, obviously, people were not pricing this in, at least to a certain degree. And we'll get to find out, I think, off of the open. Like, if it's true that there was way too much, it won't even happen in the short term. Well, we're here now. Obviously, it's going to be impossible or really difficult to predict how long this will occur. So that said, remember, this is a trending market, and we've seen this story before. Whatever the opening trend is, do not be afraid to revert it in the middle of the day. But GM's going to be on the radar. You lose the 200 period, this one's going to be there for sure. Tesla's down 3.5 points. NVIDIA's down almost 4%. The Bitcoin move is the crazy one because right back to that 92. Things were looking pretty good. And then we crater on some liquidations back into that 92 zone. It's just been such a good buy down there, like the 89 to 92 area. If it gets down to 92 again, got to look buy.
Yeah, I was looking, okay, FXI. Yeah, no, just because we were just talking about some tariffs, and I'm with, I mean, Neil basically stole the words exactly what I was thinking the same way about how, like, why was a lot of that stuff not baked in already? Like, it is just such a surprise to come in and see GM and Ford just down that much, and some of the other, you know, Magna, we talked about that over the weekend, could get hit as well. But it's you know, Tesla, again, you know, they're gonna get hit here, but you're still holding out okay on Tesla. You still have that 370. Like, that's really 375. I think on Tesla is where we worry about it. For me, though, you know, I wrote down that we have to try to get short this name. You know, as long as we're under 400, I think the short is going to be the right play, especially if we can play something off VWAP. So I'm going to be looking for Tesla short there today. We want to thank, I don't know if we're going to have Michael Noss earlier on today or later on today, but we want to thank Michael Noss for coming through on Friday. That was a lot of fun. Okay, so then FXI today as well with China, like, you know, that's down another 2% in here. So just to talk about both sides of this trade, like, we were long FXI some point last week there as it broke above the 50-period moving average and kept on making those highs. But we had said the same thing about this exuberance, right? You can look at the Alibaba chart and any of these names come up to some levels that even though you think everything is fine, there are some sell spots. It's like every time NVIDIA got back into that 145, 140 area, it had shown that those were tops. It's like Google too. Like Google, just for example, that 200 and 202 or so area there that we keep on hitting. Maybe, I mean, I think we broke a little bit ahead of it. But if Google all of a sudden, you know, so we got ahead of it on Friday, Thursday, Friday. But if we all of a sudden are back down into here, we'll be like, wow, that looked like a top, you know. So you just got to be careful with some of these names here. Palantir, I know there's going to be a lot of talk about it. You know, not moving that bad today. I mean, the Nasdaq's down 2%, so Palantir will be down that 2% as well. Going to be a tough one trading into earnings. I mean, you're not supposed to know which way the stock is going to go before the earnings call because we don't know what it's going to be like. So I feel that you might as well wait. If it does dip down more aggressive, we'll be able to pick something up. And I'm thinking, again, if we get into the 78 area, maybe there'll be something there for Palantir. But not really. I'm going to stick with the plan of like staying away from names that report if I can find a better name and then trade it tomorrow maybe.
There's lots to watch. There's like
too much to watch.
That's a good point. Like, lots to watch is an understatement. Too much, I think, can be a bit of an issue, and sometimes you want to be able to narrow it down. So if you're looking at chips, pick the one or two that you like. If you're looking at big cap tech, you know where you want to lean into. Maybe you like Apple to trade after earnings. You got some levels put in there. Obviously, Sean mentioned Google breaking or sort of failing that all-time high. Gonna definitely be a play in the crypto space. I mean, iBit's gonna be there for you. I actually like that better than trading coin or like a Mara or something like that in here today. And then those small caps should be pretty interesting as well. Like, there's a few runners already, but I just saw in the chat here, like Mark Westhoff just pointed this. Like, I haven't even, you know, like, okay, so like Rumble's a stock down like 6%. Like, there's some names that are obviously going to be catching some strays, like left, right, and center, that might be some outsized moves that you wouldn't think should move all that much here, where you're just getting a bunch of bleed. Rigetti is a name. This is one worth watching. I kind of felt like this would have a chance to be breaking down a big support level, but hey, it's holding on pretty nicely. 3% down for Rigetti. I know the Nasdaq's only down 1.8. But 3% down for Rigetti when NVIDIA's down more than that, Tesla's down more than that, Bitcoin's down, it trades 24 hours, but it's down more from the prior close. So something that's a little more risky, being somewhat relatively strong and still having support levels, suddenly there's something there. If the market does crater, or pull back again, this $12 level looks pretty solid here on Rigetti in retrospect. If we had gapped under, I'd probably be thinking shorts to 12. But you got to look out and find these symbols that, while it may not seem like there's a little relative strength and or weakness, then maybe you can dig in and find some outlier. So I kind of like this Rigetti 12 level. It's not the top 4 symbol for me, but it's going to be on my list as long as it can hold this 12. There were buyers there all last week, so let's put them to the test. Well, hopefully it doesn't get there in the first place, but if it does get down there, got to look for the bid.
Few other people.
Just watching Robinhood here. There's a note from Kalshi. Kalshi teaming up with Robinhood to launch Super Bowl trading.
Ooh.
So now you can, I guess, trade around individual events, I guess, that take place during the Super Bowl on Robinhood. So, I mean, something like that's not really going to matter today.
No.
Day low is coming into play right now for Robinhood, down decently this morning as well as the overall market, trying to hold a little bit higher here. I mean, as guys were saying, like there's so many different ways we can go. I was reading a note earlier on oil this morning. We talked about CVX going back to last week. There was earnings on this, but also a nice dip in oil going into the weekend. Here's CVX, some of these energy producers at session lows already. The gaps nowhere near as big, but I mean, they got hit pretty hard on Friday.
Yeah, and just to bring tariffs back into focus, Brendo, here, the Canadian economy exports about 4 million barrels per day from Canada into the United States, which accounts about 61% of all U.S. imports of oil. So the Canadian government basically, for the moment, has said there's not going to be an export ban for energy. That's being possibly explored if this thing continues to build on these export ban looks. China hasn't responded to any of the new tariffs that have been levied upon it, the 10% in addition to the 25 that was already existing, but they now are putting critical minerals, rare earth elements, possibly on the list of export bans. I'm talking about cobalt, lithium, and the others that we're using for electric vehicles and some other stuff, Brendo. So nat gas decidedly green today, 8.25% and continuing. And I should mention as well that OPEC came out overnight and said that they were going to stick to their original production schedule. They're not going to increase, as was thought last week. You know, Donald Trump had made an overture to Mohammed bin Salman, MBS of Saudi Arabia, telling him basically he wants a barrel cheaper, and we were expecting increase in production for that. Not yet.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, I think, for most of these. Meanwhile, I checked this on the weekend, and it wasn't there yet, but it looks like we just broke this morning. This is our Canadian dollar. That's COVID. So that's the COVID low. We are officially below that at this point, guys, for the CAD.
The old Canada's not working?
Trying to.
Oh.
I started the stream deck, but...
Or not.
Yeah,
that's not good. There's a lot of strays being caught.
You know
well,
that's
that's not a stray. That's actually.
I mean, it's been going that way for a while, but
it's been trending that way.
Unfortunately,
like let's be real. Like the USD, I have it up USD CAD, so you kind of look at it in the other direction. Same thing, but 1.5 is a big historical level. It's interesting. It'll be interesting if it actually gets there. But I think when looking at some of the other like strays in the market, if I'm watching a big Canadian name like Shopify, I don't know if Shopify is headed toward $100. I mean, anything can happen on a day like today or certainly this week. But that's been a pretty good level, in at about $100 on Shop. It's got a nice little bull flag on the daily chart. Like as far as Canadian stocks watch, we don't trade. We have Forex at Real Trading, but we don't actually, we don't really trade it. And I've got to be looking at a couple of equities here. Obviously, this is, for the most part, like the best and one of the biggest companies or successful companies that's dual listed. And Shop would be the one. I just don't know if it's going to get down to that support level at 100 to even be tradable. But yeah, the bleed is real. Like the only thing you got to consider is the last 2 times that we've come in and it's been close to double digits on the NASDAQ and like everything you're looking at is red and you know the story, right? Like everyone's doom and gloom. Typically speaking, at the open, the first move's been up. It doesn't mean you necessarily stay up, but generally speaking, when we're gapped like this, like if you can find something at a good enough support level, you get these nice little, often relief rallies at the open when everyone's in panic mode. Some of those things I still would want to fade at tops, but yeah. Oh, yeah, you got it.
Yeah. So I just I see Michael Noss getting ready to go here. I just said some kind of salad was good there. Suser Lee. Apparently,
ridiculous.
People even commented on this, and they knew exactly what this was all about. You break it up, you get a whole bunch of stuff in there, and then someone said, "I hope that was followed by a porterhouse steak." And we have this handsome gentleman right here getting ready. Oh, look at this. Oh, okay, what's going on, my guy? Right there. Go follow Michael Noss right here. 12,000 followers. He deserves more than that for everything that he puts out. So go have a look, Michael Noss. getting ready to rock and roll. We want to thank him for swinging by the office there on Friday. Yeah, lots of fun, and I hope he got back safe. I mean, I see that he's getting ready to go here, so that's probably a good sign. So, all right, let's go back to the desk and hear what we have to say here. Maybe it's crypto. I don't know. We didn't talk too much about it, but 95,000 right there, got a little lower overnight.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in Michael Noss to touch more on, we've had this discussion with him before, tariffs, obviously, and talk a little bit about more in depth of what this means for individual stocks, individual areas of the market. In particular, happy Monday, Mr. Noss. You arrived safe, I guess, back in Halifax.
I did, but I arrived to a snowstorm, so the Uber home was a little bit dicey. But yeah, everything else, I got there in one piece. That's all I need.
Yeah, good to know. Glad you're home. Glad you're safe. Let's jump into what everyone's wondering about this morning. I mean, this is going to be on everyone's mind, I think, for the next foreseeable future here.
Yes.
Walk us through what we need to know.
Yeah, so I think, it's one of those things. I spent a lot of time in airports in the last week, and I was scrolling social media a lot, and a lot of people seem to have some confusion about exactly what a tariff is and why this is being done and what the effects of the market could be. So this is one of those times where I think it's good to take a breath and a step back, and let's actually just go on a really ground level and talk about what tariffs are from the ground up, what's potentially going to happen, what would be the effect on markets, and more importantly, consumers and day-to-day lives. So here's just, shout out always to Investopedia. They're a great place to find this basic information, but a tariff is essentially just, if someone, and I may say we, and by we I mean Canadians, if we are going to sell something to the States, then the state's going to impose a tax on the person that's buying that. So that's the first thing to understand, is that the tariff is not imposed on the actual kind of company itself. It's the good itself, right? So, if you're going to buy $1,000 worth of lumber, well, as of today, that's going to be $1,200 that they're going to pay if they're going to want to buy the lumber. And the idea is that if you tariff the Canadian lumber that's coming in and make it 25% more expensive, then in some cases, these companies are going to try to look for things inside of the States where they can buy, where now before maybe it cost 10% more for them to buy lumber inside the States. Well, now it's advantage to do that, whereas before it was advantage to buy the Canadian lumber because it was cheaper being delivered. So the next is just a little bit of a graphic just talking about how these work. This might be just a little bit too much, but I think the idea of cars makes sense. So let's say, for example, Canada makes steel, and then we send that steel to the States. Well, generally speaking, with the free trade agreements, we would just send it. They would buy whatever the steel is and make it into auto parts. Well, in this case, now there will be a tax. So again, using $1,000 for whatever amount of steel they're going to buy, now that will cost them $1,200, where now the idea is, well, if they can find a place in the States to produce that steel as well for less than $1,200, then it makes sense. So that's why they're kind of artificially inflating the price of everything else. So you can see at the end of this chart, it's basically saying the consumer pays higher prices, because that is 100% how it will work. We know that if GM, and this is GM and Ford, and think Walmart, think retailers, things that sell things to the public, they are most certainly going to up their prices. They're not going to take a hit on the bottom line. They're going to say, okay, well, it's costing us more to buy steel now, so we are going to up the price of our cars. So this is why their prices are getting affected by that. And I think actually something more important is going on, which we'll talk about at the end, because now their cost of goods go up. So the cost of goods go up, they raise that cost to the consumer, and then they're going to sell less things. If cars are 25% more expensive because the raw goods are 25% more expensive, then the consumer buy less cars. Overall, even though they try to keep their margin the same, they're going to sell less. So it's a kind of a forced inflation, I guess, so to say. This next chart I saw on the internet was very, very interesting. This is kind of why this would be happening. So the top is Canada and the bottom is Mexico. And it kind of shows that Canada, it's 70, I've heard between rates of 60% to 80% of what we do is export things into the U.S. I think it's probably 60% we export to the U.S. and the rest we export everywhere else. 80% of what Mexico makes gets exported to the U.S. So The reason that this is being done is because that's a huge leverage point on our economies, where we are selling a lot of stuff to the US, that the price of that thing is going to increase, again, in hopes that they're not going to buy stuff from Canada anymore. They're going to buy stuff internally. And the reason they can do that leverage, if you look at the middle chart, it shows that 30% total of what America buys is from Canada and Mexico combined. So even though it's a big part of our economies, it's like a third of the US economy. So the idea is, by leveraging that one way or the other, then he can basically say, okay, we are going to either do stuff internally, or there's going to be some sort of benefit to America one way or another if they are buying from Canada and from Mexico. So basically found a point where it's going to hurt the US consumer without a shadow of doubt. There's going to be inflationary pressures there, but the leverage of how it can kind of hurt these other countries are much higher. So that leverage and that inflationary aspect, I think that's the area that we've got to chat about in a bit. And then I have some charts. Don't worry, I always have charts of the market. But the fact that we are all focused on what the Fed's going to do. Everything at the end of the day right now in the market comes down to what the Fed's going to do. If there's a good report that comes out, then the Fed's going to hike rates or lower rates. And that's all we care about, is what is the Fed going to do with rates? Well, if there is a push on inflation, which essentially is what's happening, things are going to cost more to make, therefore they're going to cost more to the consumer. So when prices are going to go up, then the Fed is not going to lower rates as much as they want. So that is what I think is the broad sell-off in the market, because I've heard a lot of people kind of looking at it and saying, well, this sector may be selling off and it may not have anything to do with inflation or anything to do with tariffs, right? Everything is made inside. I don't understand why this is getting pushed around with the market. I think what's happening is more of a rate story than actually a tariff story, because if there's going to be these inflationary pressures that go on by buying goods, that means rates are not going to come down as quickly, or they could potentially go back up. So again, I think we need to focus a little bit less on the tariff conversation, a little bit more on the inflationary numbers caused by the tariffs, and then therefore the rates. So at the end of the day, right, if we've got I feel like, what's that meme from Always Sunny where he's got all the lines connected on the board? But at the end, all of those lines point to what is the Fed going to do, and what are the rates at the end of the day going to be. That's what I think what's happening. But two more quick charts here. The first one you guys had up, this is the one above that, actually. So this is actually, we've seen this before, right? The beauty of this is we've seen what happened here before. We had this exact same story about rates and about tariffs into China specifically, and into steel, I think specifically, last time, right? At a whole 4 years of this. So this is from election to election of the last time we've had a Trump administration. You can see generally the market wasn't too bad. Let's ignore the whole COVID part of it, which is the last big line down. But let's look at those other two corrections. They were around the area of 10 to 15%. You can see the market was much more volatile than what we're used to, because those who weren't trading, there was the same thing. There was talking about trying to force rates and inflationary pressures and tariffs and all this. But I just wanted to show this to kind of hit on a point that I talked about with Neil on Friday when I was there. I think this sideways high volatility chop, if we're just going to look at history, could be what exactly we're in for. And that needs to change kind of the way that we look to trade. So the last chart I have here is just a chart of the S&P 500, and this down arrow and the box that I've highlighted on the bottom is just what happens if we have the same magnitude of corrections that happened last time when we had the trade wars and we had the inflationary basically getting bullied on Twitter with J Powell. And that sits us around 550 on the SPY. And the reason I show this chart is just to kind of zoom out and take a deep breath. And we were there in September and October of last year. So if we're going to have this incredibly high volatility market, I think for us short-term traders, this is great because we love volatility. But I think it just means we need to change the way we're doing things a little bit. Instead of buying breakouts and breakdowns, we do a little mean reversion, we do a little pullback trading. But I wanted to zoom out here and say, okay, if we have a 10% correction from the high, that sits us around where we were in October. And then below that, the spike below that, the August low, I think that was the yen scare. And that puts us around 15 to 20% drawdown. So if the worst thing comes to pass and all of this stuff is as crazy as last time, then, we're looking at trading where we were last year. Again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's the end of the bull market or anything like this. I just think we got to keep our eye on the Feds. If the Fed continues to lower rates, then I think we're still on for a bull market. If not, we're in for a bit of a choppy mess. But hey, we're short-term traders, so a choppy mess could be a lot of fun.
And at the end of the day, we're still in that top box on that chart there, very much at the top end, in fact, of that top box on that chart there. So it's a great look. As we always say, if you're confused or feel like it's a little bit worse than it should be, zoom out. It gives you a much better perspective of what the overall market is doing. I was just quickly to wrap things up here, I was reading a couple of analyst notes this morning suggesting that these may well be short-lived. You saw that a lot this morning, pretty much everywhere you look. Short-lived came up a lot. If that's the case, that kind of lends to what you were talking about on the inflationary and the rate side of things, to just pressure in that direction. Is there an area of the market that would benefit from that?
Yeah, I'm very interested in energy because it's one of those things in which it's very interest rate sensitive, and it's not really tariff sensitive. So if we're talking, what's getting thrown out, the whole baby in the bathwater thing, I think I really want to focus on energy, because if you look at the policies and the reason I think the tariffs may already be priced in, it's the inflation, the interest rates that we have to work for, is because there's no question of what was going to happen, right? They came in, they said this is what's going to happen. We're gonna tariff countries, force them to negotiate with us. Then the other thing is that we are going to create our own energy. So you guys know I love my natural gas, but I think other forms of energy get interesting. Nuclear, I think, is something we got to focus on in all this. But I did like that you pointed out that chart that we are still in the top end of that box. So zooming out, right? The old technical analysis saying, if in doubt, zoom out. We are in this range. So what I think, if you are someone who just wants to buy trends, I think this is one of those times where maybe you take a week off, you take a breath, you have the market to digest what it's going to do. And what I'm going to be focusing on all week is what sectors are not selling off. I think XLE and energy may be one of them, but I want to see that in the tape. Is if we do get a sell-off today and this week, what sectors held up? And those are the ones that I'm probably going to put my money into.
Lots more to come on this topic. Michael Noss back with us after the close tonight. We'll see you then.
Talk to you then.
And looking forward to it as always, Michael, and great insights. That's the thing, like, I shouldn't say everyone's all doom and gloom, but there's a lot of doom and gloom that goes around in mornings like this. But those October levels, I mean, ultimately, it's not the end of the world. Like, you pull up a chart of, say, like Apple, like those October levels, those are great places to have bought Apple recently. Now, I would venture, when you look at the October low, down in here, like the stocks that are pretty much already there, despite the fact that the NASDAQ has a ways to go before we were to retest those levels, those are the ones I'd be a little bit more concerned about. I think obviously, like when you look at something, when you look across the market to places that might have been a little bit more strong, like an example here, I'm just using the example of Google to Apple because it's an obvious one. Like, Google well off of its October low. This is the kind of thing that I like. Like, if you get back into the October low and a stock is just pulling back into like the prior high and like the 50 period, that's a good zone. Like, that's the kind of thing that I'll be watching for. And then anything that loses the October low before the NASDAQ or the ES were to get to that price, that goes into a completely different bucket. So I think like Michael's right, like group stocks into different categories here. I just use Apple and Google as an example. It doesn't mean I don't like Apple in a general sense. It's just Apple's a stone's throw away from the October lows, whereas if by the time we get there, Google's going to be pulling back into like a technical bull flag, most likely, which does look pretty solid to me still.
Oh man, that's. I said I put a bid down there like at 87 and change. I just when it was at 97 yesterday before I went to bed there. This is Bitcoin. I just went in and put 10% down, like for my bid. From there, thinking that we could get a wash. We did get one, but I only noticing, because I wanted to talk about crypto, but I only noticing now it looks like the low here was 91 change, 91.2, maybe right there. But, we always talk about following the 200 period moving average on this 15-minute chart. And that crossed pretty heavily there. And then I think you don't always take it right on that first cross, but then you look for like that next support level. And if it breaks it, then maybe that's where you'd get short. So it can either be there like at 103.5 or maybe even here at 103 and change low. and then boom, just straight down. So like right now, it's going to be hard to get bullish. Even though we're above the 50, that's nice to see if we can hold that. Hard to get bullish until we break like above this 98.4 or so. So crypto, Coinbase, and everything going to be watched today, including, as we're about to throw over to Adara, what's on upgrade and downgrade.
Pretty interesting list here. It's worth noting all these upgrades actually trading lower this morning. Of course, we do have this overall market sell-off, but regardless, Caterpillar is starting the list here, getting upgraded by UBS. Dexcom with an upgrade from Redbird Atlantic and a $115 price target. Zillow getting upgraded by KeyBank Capital Management, and CRISPR, which is down about 3.5% right now, getting an HC Wainwright upgrade. On the downgrade side of things, Comcast, which was on this list last week as well and was pretty beat up on earnings last week. This one getting a downgrade from Scotiabank. Then we have Loop Capital downgrading 2 transport names, CN and FedEx. Last but not least, Piper Sandler here downgrading Constellation Brands, which is down 4.5% this morning, guys.
Some brands, huh?
Well, Caterpillar's at the 200 SMA. Before we go there, I didn't realize, like FedEx, I kind of didn't realize that FedEx had done this recently, and we saw what happened with UPS, and it should have been obvious that FedEx just lost some pretty big support. They've been better, but maybe 245 looks good there. I think Caterpillar is the interesting one on that list because the last time it was down here, a couple weeks ago, you were bouncing right off of 3. It was actually 350 was the bottom, but I mean the accumulation was at $360 in the 200-period moving average. This has not managed to close multiple days underneath the 200-period moving average for a very, very long time. Like, you've got to go all the way back into 2023, at the end of 2023, since that happened. So it's been under the 200. But if this loses the 200-period moving average on for more than just like a single wick day, I think that it's going to present a pretty big buying opportunity. I might stink bid this down at like 310 in my personal account or something along those lines. But I think this is usually a good place to be buying this stock for sure. Just didn't realize FedEx was looking quite as bad, that chart, as it is. And this is the thing. If you like stocks, this is typically the environment where buying some dips in a year like this is going to pay off some dividends.
Yeah, especially if you're in a dividend stock like Caterpillar there.
True. I mean.
Yeah, so FedEx right here. You know what? Let me just check out. Did they already report? Because the story I'm going to get to is 1 second. FDX. I just want. Oops. Oh, they never selects the best one. All right, so FedEx. Their calendar earnings right here. Next earnings report appearing to be March 20th, it looks like. So January, February, March 20th. Yeah, okay. So confirmed. So we haven't had that in a minute. So we'll have to wait to see when that's coming through. And then what I was going to get at there, so that's a little scary because this is what FedEx looks like right here. And this is what its partner in crime did basically on their earnings report with UPS. So if FedEx looks like that, I feel, and again, I apologize, whoever downgraded that, I lost the name, but I mean, they're getting ahead of potentially something like this. So there's UPS kind of cruising, and there's whoops, right back down and into all lows again. And we look at this on a weekly chart. So I would say that if you're in FedEx, I mean, dig around a little bit and find out, you know, what's that upgrade or what's that downgrade all about. But that breaking of that shelf right there, like 270, you know, definitely bringing us into this area. Then you're gonna, you know, you start to lose. You know, you could see 235, and then if their report comes and they miss, then I would watch out for that. I mean, Amazon shipping more and more in-house now as well. So you got to watch out for names like FedEx and UPS. We also saw the rails, some rail names last week get off the rail as well. So yeah, look, with tariffs coming in, I mean, all these deliveries, all these shipping companies, I mean, it makes sense why potentially this is going to be less crossing the border, right? As Michael said, you know, you want to buy Canadian goods now, you know, that piece of wood that cost you $100 now costs you $125. And that was going to make you want to buy local, which is good. I mean, I get, as Michael explained it, I get the whole tariff thing. I mean, it's President Trump wants to build again, you know, build America up again. And if that means causing, you know, higher prices and essentially just part of the game, you know. And right now, I think FedEx gets hit on this.
Yeah, unfortunately, they do. You know what? The other thing about when you said build back, there's a side to like Caterpillar that I think obviously they've get a bit of a hit when China growth isn't as big and people are worried you're not going to be building as many data centers. But you also have to think about, like, you know, bringing jobs back and bringing production back into the U.S. Like, if if that does happen en masse, then you've got more factories that need to be built in the U.S., and that's going to be all Caterpillar as well. So I think like it's a stock that I feel like it's good regardless in the long term. Like I don't have, they lose here, they win there. Like it's one of those types of names. And I think when you have names like that, those are the ones that you want to dip by. But yeah, it's an unavoidable right now. Just want to point out this BCTX that's running here just did. This is one of those. I saw Darwin in the chat mentioning this and a few others as well. But just caught a nice little volume spike in here, holding VWAP, holding the $6 level. So it looks like we have a bit of a runner. It's not a this is not a day one play. This popped last week, but a little bit of a bull flag set up here. 550 looks like a support for it, and it just took out the $6 level on some volume.
60.67, guys. That's where we closed out Friday on the ES March contract. We are decidedly below that already, below 6,000 points, but defending that 5950 point area where we kind of bottomed out there back on the 27th of January. So here's the deal. We're using 5950 as support. If we give up the 50 point level, we're looking at that 100 point level at 5,900. If we defend 5950, we're looking to test that 6,000 point level with the overnight high, Brendo, being 5988.
All right, let's go. There's a lot to understand this morning. If you haven't done so yet, jump down to the description of this video. Top link in the description will get you to the sign up page for the watch list. Absolutely free from us to you every single morning. All you need is your email address. I was just noting here, you and I were just talking about crypto a little bit, and Ethereum by far the weakest right now. I have a up and down gappers window on my right. The top 6 are all Ethereum related right now. So 46%, 23, 23, 23, and 22 to the downside. There's MicroStrategy, 7.5% here. Yeah, Bitcoin under a lot of pressure here. I mean, Ethereum by far the worst, though.
I looked for a reason why ETH was selling off as aggressively as it was relative to Bitcoin. Couldn't find one. So it looks like it's just basically deleveraging of risk assets due to market uncertainty. So we'll keep an eye on that. You should note though that there is an inverse relationship right now between the dollar and Bitcoin. So the U.S. dollar index, the Dixie, up 1%, while Bitcoin down. We're talking about volatility concerns right now with Bitcoin. Here's the deal, though. The options market is still remaining bullish on Bitcoin. Open interest remains relatively high for that 110,000 and 120,000 Bitcoin calls, showing basically possible moves to the upside, but lots of other analysts saying, we could see $70,000 easily if this thing continues. So who knows, Brendo? We're caught in the middle right now.
Yeah, I was reading the same. Volatility definitely here in a pretty big way. I mean, session lows right now here, guys, for IBIT, 7% as well. Where do we look here in crypto land today?
In 92. Like it's
not long, I would think.
I feel like there's like a bridge. Like imagine there's like a drawbridge, not a drawbridge, but like a rope bridge. And it's like kind of rickety, but there's like gold on the other side of it, and you're just going back and forth, hauling as much as you can. Like it's getting more and more.
The life back and forth.
Yeah, it's more rickety as it goes, and eventually it'll probably break. But as long as it holds up, it's basically free money for you.
Right.
That's what the 92,000 level's been like on Bitcoin right now. Like you just look at the chart. Every time we get one of these like liquidation events, we kind of go in there. Sometimes we break 90. Like once we broke 90, got to like 88. But most of the times we're going right into 92. And we're bouncing. So if we get to that price, fair. But that's a ways away before you get to it. So it gets all, when Bitcoin sees that 92 or the 90,000 level, I want to look for some bounces. When I pulled up, this sort of pulling up at 15 of IBIT, like this is kind of like a nice little pivot here, 55.3 or so. We had breakouts and immediate support, and we've gapped under. So I want to be fading as long as we're under, fading shorting, as long as we're under that. That sets up this little double top here at 54.5, of course, things like VWAP. But if we get to that 92,000 mark on Bitcoin, I don't know the exact price on IBIT, but we're all tracking Bitcoin live, so it shouldn't be too hard to figure out. And as long as we're not at that price, I want to be looking short into it here on IBIT. And I'm not really looking at Mara today or Coinbase. It's just going to be IBIT.
Look, everybody is smart with crypto when it's ripping higher, right? And it's just like, we think it's going to the moon. And, you know, we had that prediction, or someone asked us last week, where'd you put the $1,500? We're like, let's buy IBIT. You know, well, that's nice because now you're suffering, you know, the fate of bigger moves. And if you're going to be into crypto, you're just going to have to understand that it's volatile. And I mean, as Brendan mentioned, they're leading the way today is Ethereum. And I think the reason why Ethereum is getting hit here is because it doesn't really have any uses that people can, oh, there is Rob. Yes, Rob is here to save the day. You don't ask a tech guy for Java, I realized there, because then we start talking about coding languages.
It was a good joke.
And Python and C++, Rob.
Ooh.
Cobalt? Ooh, that's a new one. I haven't heard of Cobalt before.
News to me.
All right, there you go. See, this is what I'm saying. So these guys, thank you, Rob, for that. But no, I mean, look, everyone's smart when it's working, and you look silly when it doesn't. So, I mean, for right now, I didn't sell anything at the highs. And like I told you, I'm even bidding lower than that. I'm in that 87, 88,000 range. Therefore, Ethereum, I mean, we could talk about the last time I bought it was right around here, actually. It was 94, 125. So that's the last time I bought it, was just around Christmas time. So it's been up and down there. So we've wasted about a month and a bit now for crypto. But I just look at Ethereum and I just think that, okay, we always talk here. And again, you know, the more educated people out there that are Ethereum supporters would know. I don't mean that there's not any base cases for it or any use cases right now. It's just, I think the reason why we all bought Bitcoin and XRP, and did you guys see what Ripple's been doing, by the way? Like, Ripple has been getting absolutely dethroned here as well. If we go over to Ripple, there's the big move in the market cap, you know, 190 billion. This is just a market cap. I'll get the actual coin. I actually didn't realize TradingView has a market cap thing on here. That's pretty cool. But 190 billion all the way down. We touched down to 100 billion yesterday, 129. But let's get the actual coin itself right here into the US dollar. I think it was 220 and change. Yeah, so 225, you know, ramping up here as we talk about the reserve and what's going to happen with this sort of a new payment system with being XRP. But there's the move right back in for that one. I mean, it's all over the place. It's Solana. Oh man, that's pretty cool. They have everything on here. I just got a Solana. Got to find out this. There it is on the US dollar. This is down to 197, I thought it was. Yeah, 191. So this breaking lower as well. So many of the coins coming down. This actually looks pretty, out of all the charts that I'm seeing here, this Solana one, this is a daily chart. There's the 200 period moving average. You know, again, I'm wondering if now trading crypto is becoming more trying to use some of these levels, catching big moves on stories like this, catching sort of a falling knife there in crypto, and then waiting for that next sort of rally back upside, as we'll hear about Michael Saylor buying more BTC and whatnot. Maybe he can relieve some of the pressure, but I don't, for right now, it doesn't look very healthy. And honestly, I didn't even write down IBIT because it's not, like, it needs to get to 98,000. So if it gets up to 98,000, then we'll be looking at crypto again, or down into the 90 mark for bids. So for me, I'm going to wait.
Michael Moss had a great chart there explaining the process of automakers specifically and why some of these are under the most pressure or the most volatile when it comes to tariff headlines. If you go back to Friday on GM here, this was that at 12 o'clock, it was, oh, it's going to be delayed a month. And then an hour later, it was like, nope, it's going to be Saturday. So back to the downside we go here. So these are very, very sensitive to this. Here we are, huge gap downside. So essentially, raw material goes across the border, gets turned into auto parts, gets taxed. Auto parts come back across the border into Canada, get turned into a vehicle, get taxed. Those cars then go back across the border again, get taxed. So you see the relation there.
I do, Brendo, and it's quite cyclical. So let's talk about who is exposed more to it. GM, the worst of the bunch right now with the most exposure to Mexico, and they have the most amount of cars made in Mexico. Canada, yes, we do produce cars, but we're more known for car parts and the associated industry that comes with the car business. So that will be hurt from that regard. Now, Tesla, the least exposed, I would say, out of the U.S. automakers. Well, number one, because they're electric vehicles and they have less moving parts. So that helps, obviously, with tariffs. But they make quite a bit of their cars in the United States at 3 different locations. Now, it's not only the American car manufacturers that are in trouble that build in Canada and Mexico. The European automakers as well are in focus. Donald Trump is already making overtures to Europe about a possible trade war and tariffing them. So you've already seen the likes of, what's it called here, Volkswagen down 6%, Stellantis as well, down 6%, Valeo, the French company, 7.8%, and the Japanese companies as well, Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Mazda, all down higher single digits, Brendo. So we'll keep tabs on this one and how this all affects the auto industry going into the future.
You want the next tidbit here?
Let's hear it.
Trump set to speak with Trudeau at 3 p.m. today.
Which is funny because when Trudeau made his speech reacting to the tariffs, said he was trying to get a hold of Donald Trump.
And he's been dodging his calls.
And he's been ignored.
Yeah, I mean, Trump also saying Canada doesn't even allow U.S. banks to do business here, which is true.
You and I talked about this. Right? We
Yeah.
talked about this, him wanting to give American companies possible foothold in Canada vis-a-vis these negotiations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's see. Maybe that's something that gets put on the table, guys.
The thing is like we already deal with, I mean, I have a Visa, you have a Visa, we have MasterCards, we have American Express here. We have a lot of banking related things, but we have our own, their little six major banks.
It's a very different banking system here.
They're not even allowed to buy each other. They're not even allowed to do like anything like that. It's very, I don't think that will happen, but good point again. I mean, I don't know if Trudeau, I mean, they're going to have to meet somewhere in the middle here at some point, but
look,
I mean,
something's going to get done. There's way too much, especially in the auto industry for sure is way too integrated for there not to be some deal done, and ultimately I think it will. But in the short term, like GM was trending, it was kind of trending back down anyways, and some of that probably had to do with this, like you lost some highs, lower highs. But now that it's under these 200 period, let's try to keep it relatively simple in here. Like it's still like a deep flat bottom break. Ideally, it'd be closer to 48 right now, and you would play off the prior low. But that's my first thought. Like you can't know on Friday it was going to gap this far to the downside, obviously. But at the end of the day, prior support turning into resistance for me. It's like 47.5 is where I'd look for the fade zone or the short zone, as long as it's underneath that 200-period moving average. And I think it's perfectly reasonable that you could see a bounce into that range. Like everyone's sort of doom and gloom right now. You get a little bit of a bounce, and this tries to go all the way back into a little bit of that gap. So that's the one I'm watching. Obviously, Tesla is going to be a big one today. It's just, I mean, 398 to 400, I should say, not necessarily just 400, because looking back at when we opened up and started ramping on Friday, you got 398 into 400 support, maybe even like 402. Like that's a nice little range in there. That and GM, I'm looking to short pops. I feel like it's until proven otherwise. Stocks that lose that kind of support level, I like to short under prior support.
All right, so I just heard Neil say the same thing as myself, which always is nice there. And we have 398 right there. Neil just said 398 to 400. That's exactly what we wrote down right here. It's being hit hard early this AM with all this tariff talk, so we understand that. You can go find this on the sticky note. I just, again, regardless of the name, I like Tesla and I want to buy it. I mean, we've talked about where I think that forget about it. I love it as an auto play because I think it might be the only one. But then also just for everything that it means here as far as AI and I do think that, that lower model comes. I think there's a lot of stuff that can happen with Teslas, and we've talked about it, and we will continue to do that. But it's underneath $400, and it's underneath right now the 50-period moving average on the daily. The reason why I chose this level, again, this is the 50-period moving average. We're not going to get the 200-period. That's up here at 404. It's underneath 400. That's sort of where this started. So sometimes you'll get relief rallies. And I was going to show you guys the NASDAQ like right here on a 30-minute chart. I'm actually going to start using the Qs because I know we use the futures a lot here on the show, but I trade the TQQs. So I just thought for a broader look at what the actual NASDAQ is doing. I know there's a lot of you that are trading options and you'll use the Qs. So we sort of had a discussion. Maybe we'll look at this. And if you guys prefer the actual NASDAQ contract, I can get back to it. But, you're still kind of stuck in the middle right here with the NASDAQ. Huge drop down there on Friday, obviously, as tariff worries everybody. And DeepSeek is still there. NVIDIA is actually below its DeepSeek level. We'll probably not get to that, but we will at some point. But anyways, the NASDAQ, I feel like there's a little bit of a bottom that could be happening here on 511 on the Qs. So as we look at Tesla, again, NASDAQ kind of stuck in the middle. So as long as we're underneath 400, I'll try to play some sort of pressure on this name because, again, if you look back on Friday, we didn't break through, and now we finally have. So everybody trying to push this thing into 400, today the work is done for you. So I could see a little bit of a rally. This is a 1 minute chart. We like the 200 period moving average. I just think it could be real volatile off the jump, and I'm not sure I want to sit at 395. That could be a railroad straight to the upside here as well. So I feel like sitting on the hands for right now is a good call. As the NASDAQ here this morning doesn't seem to want to move around too much. So I'll still have the NASDAQ 1 minute on the chart to the bottom left for me, but we'll look at maybe the Qs a little more broader with the triple Qs. So that's about it. All right, it's Palantir tonight.
This portion of the show brought to you by Hive Digital Technologies. HIVE, the ticker, over on the NASDAQ. They're pioneering the digital transformation through sustainable AI solutions and Bitcoin mining, a global leader in cutting-edge data center operations. With over 2,700 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, Hive consistently tops the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash and is redefining the future by powering the world's most transformative technologies with efficient, green, and clean energy. Learn more. Follow them at Hive Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com and sign up for their newsletter for more updates. Yeah, Palantir after the close tonight with earnings, one of many, and then we get into it. I mean, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, going to be really big earnings days this week. $80 here, Palantir staring 80 right in the face right now.
Yeah, Brendo, this should be really interesting. They report after the bell today. Conference calls at 5 o'clock. The expected move, 13.7%. The previous move was an eye-watering 23.5% to the high side, so this thing can definitely go. It made a record high on Friday, getting to that 85.22 area, closed off a little bit below that at 82.5. It's above all the moving averages, the 8, the 20, the 50, the 200. The RSI is looking a little bit oversold, but that could be, overbought, excuse me, but that could be a move to the high side. They're expecting EPS of about 11 pennies on revenue of $776 million. They beat earnings 7 out of the last 10 times.
Yeah, one of those, I think, overall market moves right now. Not a lot of volume behind this, guys, for a PLTR.
Yeah.
Well, not really. Obviously, look, tonight's going to be a big one. It's the first major earnings this week. It's a big week for earnings in general, and obviously, I think with the tariff news, I think it's going to put a more of a microscope on individual names and their reactions. This is going to be the kind of market where you can find the right names and don't all lump them into the same group and think they're all moving together. That said, it's got a bit of a head and shoulders look today with that move. Well, obviously, it broke out like gangbusters in the morning, 82 to 85, and were it not for that tariff news, it probably would have been a breakout in the afternoon the way that it was headed, but it goes right back in. You see it fall and hold 82. So 82, 82, 82. If it breaks out above 82, I think you're looking for longs, and underneath 82, we're going to be looking for shorts. I don't know this. This is probably not the first place I'd jump into, given that there's earnings. We've kind of gone over the names we like. I know NVIDIA is not on our list, but I feel like that's going to be something that's going to be a more traded for myself, like GM, NVIDIA, Tesla, iBit, more so than Palantir. If we do fall all the way down to 77 or the 75 level, I do like reversions today. And that goes with pops and fades or like deep moves that last the entire, first half an hour to an hour of the morning. You get to one of these key levels, would look for some kind of a bounce. It's about $3 away to the first level, and then it's actually more like 94, 95. I think it's a big range if it gets underneath 77. Just take some patience. I probably won't look at Palantir until we get that first half an hour.
Yeah, look, I mean, Palantir with that kind of expected move there, it's either going to be $90 or $70 tomorrow, right, with 13% of a move. So we'll have to see what happens today. And I think that's the whole point, is it's down 3% right now. I chose Tesla because Tesla earnings are already in the past, but this is another pretty negative name here doing good volume, over 2 million shares here in the pre-market. Feel like this does have a $100 target on it, but at the end of the day, you might look back and be like, wow, man, I mean, Palantir up here at $83, $84, that was probably a great opportunity to sell. But then again, with this ever-changing world right now becoming more and more data-driven, and with AI just becoming a thing, I think that DeepSeek actually helps Palantir, because now all of a sudden people can build all of these different AI models cheaper, which means I think you need to secure your data even more right now. So I like what Palantir is doing here. I like the fact that it's a big, huge U.S. name. It's you know, all Alex Karp talks about is solidifying everything for the United States. You know, AI has to be better in the United States. We can't let DeepSeek, you know, affect us, and we need to be prepared for this. And we need exact measurements, exact precise location tools. We need to close up the borders. I mean, this is what this is all about, data and using it, right? So we're going to have to find out what their foundry is all about on the consumer side, but we know the contracts are there. I think that's pretty solid, man. 778 million in revenue expected. I think you can almost book that. Most of their contracts are solidified and are continuous. So I like Palantir here. I think it's going to be exciting to hear if they have more commercial business and less of sort of some of these government contracts. But again, we'll take all the contracts we can get. So really like Palantir. The only problem is it was $64 2 weeks ago. So like, I don't, you know, it's already kind of juiced up right now. I'm not selling anything ahead of earnings, but you know, a wise man once told me that in order to make profit, you need to actually take some profit.
Oh, I heard the same thing.
You know, yeah. I don't know. You know, we had a guy like Chef Joe on, and I see him in the chat there, you know, buying dips in Tesla, holding on to it, and reaping the benefit when the stock goes up. There's tons of benefit when stocks go up. As I said, everyone's looking more and more genius. There come the imbalances right now. So let's just wait to see. And NVIDIA with a big sell there. So there's NVIDIA. Whoops. All the way down into 114 right now goes NVIDIA. Whoops. Apple goes down into 230 again as well. As right now, we said it last week, B is for Brendan, and S is for sell. And right there, sell, 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 sell. Amazon sell right now. Palantir's the sell. You know, everything's starting to get down into the downside. So here we go again, everybody. Crude falling as well, apparently. Look at the NASDAQ with a little bit of a shoulder break, possibly up there at 2150, back into 2180. So watch out now. Some of these shorts can be coming into play. I don't have any bids in the market right now, none whatsoever. Selling Apple, selling AMD, selling FXI, selling Tesla. They're all pending, so we'll have to wait to see what winds up happening.
All right, a couple minutes to go here. We'll get through at least a couple. NVIDIA day lows on that 2 million sell imbalance there for NVDA. Let's talk some Chinese names. 10% tariffs coming through from Trump on China. $96 trying desperately to hold. It's actually NIO, the worst off right now. You made a good point earlier this morning in that a lot of people online were talking about how Canada got it worse than China. It's actually not the case.
No, because China already had 25% tariffs from the previous administration. The 10 is in addition to the previous 25, so we're talking collectively 35. There's also more trouble for China. They're removing the de minimis principle. What that means is that $800 threshold, anything under that was coming in tariff-free. So people like PDD, Pinduoduo, through the Temu app, were using that. So the de minimis provision here, Fabian, allows duty shipments under $800. That's been halted. The rule hasn't been in place since the 1930s, which has been heavily criticized for allowing low-cost Chinese imports into the United States. Just to give you some idea of how much it was used, in 2024, it was used 1.3 billion times. Compare that to 2015, when it was used 139 million times. So Temu, Shein, AliExpress, these all benefit from that. Obviously, AliExpress is Alibaba. Shein, not publicly traded. We've been waiting for that IPO to come, Brendo. It is not coming yet.
Yeah, day lows basically across the board here. As far as Amazon and Google on the board there as well this morning, I mean, there's nothing really specific for them. They both did kind of spike to the downside there on that imbalance release as well, trying to recover right now. But Amazon and Google to report this week, guys.
Yeah, and obviously those will be big reports when they do come through. You saw that big sell imbalance everywhere. There wasn't a huge move on the Chinese name, but a slight move down. PDD taking a big hit, down 6%. I feel like if this pops, like 107, 108, prior support levels, that's what the first look is, fading into prior support levels. Obviously, you just had a pretty large move to the downside there. I think we went over NVIDIA on those imbalances. Apple lost it was a held offer at 230, and it just dropped a bid to come into 229. A lot of times when you see those big imbalances come through, you get a bit of a relief rally as they start to pair it off. So Apple already starting to pair off a little bit. I do like that 33 half zone still. NVIDIA actually pulling back as well, trying to bounce off of 114. 117, 118. If NVIDIA recovers above 118, great. I think that's a pretty big zone for it if it can get there to look for some maybe continuation longs in a V shape. But I want to be shorting in those pops. I don't know if we can get to the 17, 18 off the open, but we've seen NVIDIA do that before. So I don't want to completely write off that notion and immediately start thinking the lower high at 116 here. So there's a lot to watch. Just be very, very, nimble. I say nimble, but patient, I think is the better word off the open here. Tesla's the one thing that doesn't seem to be bouncing after we got those imbalances to the downside. It's actually Tesla that's going to continue to fall here. Apple with a slight bounce and NVIDIA slight bounces.
Tesla not doing well. With only a minute left to go here. Yeah, look, I mean, I have FXI written all over this board here today. I wanted to be short on FXI into China, so we'll look for that. I also want to be short AMD's open price. Close price right there, 116. If we can get up into that level, that's on the sticky note as well. You can go find that with over 30 seconds left. Right now, or just under 30 seconds now until we open up. I like AMD short into 116, so we'll be doing that. And then FXI, just one more play here, 31.50 if we can go short there. Tariffs. What are those? I'm going to put in the chat so that way everyone can go back to 8:45 and find out what tariffs are from Michael Noss. So you can go have a look there. So I'm going to vote that so I can go back and have a look. So, all right, here we go. 768. What's up, Adara? There she is. How you doing today, Adara? Good. Okay, good. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Party on, Wayne. Party on, Garth. And if you are short the market, it is a party there today to start. As right now, the ES is down that 1.65%, with the NASDAQ down 1.8 as we watch out for FXI. Let's take a look here at DeepSeek. Just at NVIDIA here, what the effect of this name is having. 113 and change. Doesn't look like it's doing too much here right off the jump. AMD as well, 113 and change. A little bit of a back and forth battle right there for AMD. Tesla's the one that's really getting hit. Right back into some support again of 385. We had seen this support before last week. As if I zoom back out a little bit, you'll see we have held here before. So if you're thinking that this market is a little overdone to the south side right now, this is a great opportunity to pick up some Tesla at 384, 385. There it is already, a bounce up $1, but bye-bye NVIDIA down, I guess. Did it?
NVIDIA just lost. Oh my goodness. NVIDIA just lost 114, hit 113. Yeah, I guess we're not going to get the pop into prior resistance yet. I mean, anything can happen. We're only 1 minute into the market. Just cancel that 16 order for now. Let's see what happens if we can actually get back there. A little bit of a bounce happening in Apple, so this could be the first thing to come into shape. Prior lows, 233. Maybe it'll curl at the 232 level. So Apple's starting to come to the upside. The ES is actually trying to bounce as well. So Apple,
Tesla's at 389.
Whoa, Tesla bounced huge.
Everything's bouncing. This is the kind of stuff that we talked about.
NVIDIA is still at the lows, but that's a big bounce there by Tesla. Let's see how it does at VWAP. So I thought Apple was going to come first, but it looks like it could actually be Tesla. All
right, I'm getting stubborn a little bit here, and we don't necessarily want to be that kind of a trader right now, but I'm going to get into AMD just a little bit. I mean, you're at that 200 period moving average. We've wicked up here a couple times. I'm going to use that top wick as my out. I think, anyways, 114.50. It's not exactly at 50, but we'll see if it does want to get going. I mean, maybe the market's just trying to figure itself out, and if it is, then we're here for that as well. So I'm going to short a little. Okay, here we go. I'm not heavily short. We'll short some more right here at 90. I'm going to get something into that top, which apparently is 114.25 is good enough for me. Let's go to 114.20. We'll take on a little bit more up there, and then we're going to punch out if it breaks. Here we go. We're going to punch out if it breaks 114.50. Okay, so we're going to get out if it breaks that. But there it is. A little bit of a face slap to start the day right there on AMD. Let's take out something, if we can, in the 60s, just in case this is not the move down that we think. So right here comes AMD. We're short now at 91. I just put a 71. So there it is, a little bit of a fill there as we start to head southbound on advanced micro devices, hopefully.
Yeah, well, this market is actually looking a little bit, I shouldn't say a little bit better, but like a lot better. Just got an over-under through 231 here on Apple as it spiked into pre-market tops, pulling right back underneath VWAP here. Let's see if it can get to the 230 level, and we'll get some out. But I just looked over at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is now holding 115 to the upside and looking relatively strong. Hold this VWAP. We want to hold VWAP on the downside there for Apple. But NVIDIA, there we go. It's like right at VWAP at 115. This is going to be the spot here. No, I think I just bid all of it out.
Ooh.
Dang it, I definitely keystroke there. All right, let's get into NVIDIA, because if it holds over 115, don't want it until 116. If it holds underneath VWAP, which it's doing right now, going to take our first shot at NVDA. I know for sure I just bid out of all of Apple.
Yeah.
And it just came right into 230. That's right. A little bit of a keystroke there. I'll see if I can't get back in off 231.
And the bangers have happened again over here. So we'll just, I don't know. I said this week maybe we just wouldn't celebrate as much, but there it goes, man. There goes AMD. Huge move down. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, down to the downside. We are now 90 cents in the money if we touch this 113 area there. There comes AMD, man. I mean, as it was written here, we picked one name today on the chip space, and it was AMD, and we just talked. Hey, man, you can't, you can't change some of this stuff, man. I said to Marissa, all right, here we go, man. Time to go back to work, man. Let's put on that hard hat and get to work one more time. And that's exactly what we do right here with AMD. So there it is, man. Sun doesn't always shine bright on this space, but there it goes, Neil. It is your first one for me today as we enter that dollar club. Short AMD right there at 114. And again, the thing is that we talked, it's not that we didn't talk about it, right? We said it was up here. We actually took it twice. We actually told you we were adding to the position right there. So there goes advanced micro devices straight to the downside. We do have, we're out of half of that spot. I'm actually going to get out of one more piece right now as well at 08s if we can get it. And we do have a new position alert. FXI starting to get up to that upside. So I wrote down that we don't want to let this thing go past 80s. Why did I write that exactly? So that must have been where, first of all, there's the shelf right there from Friday. So that's probably what we were talking about. But I'm going to use the 50-period moving average now. We could really get going up here. So I'm not going to short this again until about 70s, 65s or 70s here on FXI. But we're starting to really bleed down on AMD, but we are covering something here at 13 as it seems like that could be a little bit of a stopping zone right there. But we do have the top of the day and the bottom of the day. So top of the morning to y'all there if you're short. But the market's not really doing much, is it?
It's not, but we're still trying to break higher. I actually, look, PDD is coming into target pretty quickly in here. So that 107 to 108, it's already reverting back into this level. So let's let it work a little bit more before jumping into the short. NVIDIA just held 114. Barely there. We're trying to add at 115 if we can. You still have a heavy wick bottom at 113 on NVIDIA. So it's still heavy wick bottom and a higher low. We'll give it another chance to get into VWAP and reload it. As I said, Apple, it's still underneath VWAP, still underneath that 231. We're trying to pick this one up short again underneath VWAP. But right now we're just into NVIDIA and have PDD on our minds here. NVIDIA now a buck. But Pinduoduo is starting to get right up to that 108 spot. So this is where we're looking for the reversion on PDD. So if we can get up a little bit further or just lose 107 and do a wick top, then we'll jump into this short as well. Let's go to Adara.
Couple smaller cap names moving to the upside here. Kingsoft Cloud, this one, KC, no catalyst, but it tends to run semi-frequently. It's a Chinese ADR, so it looks like this one's getting a bounce here this morning. And then we have REBN. This one was on the watch list, has dropped a little bit since the pre-market, but still up on the day here, trying to get to that $6 level. REBN, no catalyst, but about a 2.5 million share float and a 10% short float. So notable short float there for REBN, guys. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Adara, for that one as well. Okay, so we are now out of about 60 to 65% of AMD. We got another fill down there in the 20s. I'm going to try to let this thing settle down just a little bit. If we're looking at the NASDAQ, though, and the TQQs, I mean, some of you are probably thinking about like, all right, this has been a nice move up. Are we going short? I actually just bought a little bit of this dip in my own account today here on the S&P 500. We want to start buying a little bit more indexes, so I did a little bit of that off open. We'll see if that winds up working. But 79, I mean, the futures are right here right now, 79, 79, 25. I mean, that's not a horrible short if you're playing off the 200-period moving average. So I'd look out for that one. We still are obviously short FXI. We just took some more shares right here at the 200-period moving average. This is not going in our favor right now. So one more load up at 70, and then we're using 80s as our out. So if that breaks back above that, we are gone on that. What is the ES doing? So a little bit of a move higher, but not going too much, only up about 1.5 down, 1.5% right now on the ES. Okay, if there's anything else, I know Neil's in a bunch.
Palantir maybe, but.
Okay, Palantir maybe. Let me just check out what Tesla's doing. All right, so Tesla goes 385 one time already, and then right back up into 388. and now it looks like it wants, okay, that fail rate there might be it. This might be a short break right there now on Tesla. What is that, man? 384.50. That's not a horrible short break, especially with the market doing this. Market's going up right now. Tesla, oh no, shit, what? There it goes. So, wow, we just said 34.50 might be a great break.
Oh boy.
There it goes, man. That's $1 straight to the downside there. Don't have it, wish I did, but there it was. It's still right back in. Just look at how volatile this thing is, man. Wow, the market is like starting to get back up here a little bit.
Well,
so,
the market's at the highs, and Tesla breaking the lows. So a couple of things here.
Yeah, that's the key for me.
That's the thing. Like, first look on
Meta's
Apple.
ripping.
We got Apple into 230.
Meta's up $20.
231. It got back into it again at 231, and it just broke the top. So we're out of Apple, and now only left with PDD and NVIDIA. NVIDIA is different. Like, NVIDIA is like Tesla. NVIDIA is just at the lows. And then Pinduoduo
Probably should not be sure.
in here just took VWAP. So it did the huge wick over 107. And, stop is now going to be underneath this lower bar, which is 107.10. So just going to update that in a quick little second. We just got into VWAP on PDD. Going to look for a 105.90 to 106 as next out. Then look for the low of the day at 105 on Pinduoduo. So, I mean, the weakness is still in the Chinese stocks, but you're seeing a lot of strength coming to a few Mag 7 names as we speak. And wow, NVIDIA just caught a bid at 113.
Yeah, I think shorting might be silly.
This seems like, okay, this is a bit of a reversion play here. It's going to be breaking a bit of a trend. We said V-shaped bottom, you hold a higher low. There's only one place to go. So I'm going to jump out there on NVIDIA. If we get into VWAP, we can always short it again at the 115. The market is blowing out the tops right now.
Yep.
Everywhere I see. And wow, it's IBIT. Look 96. At Bitcoin. Yeah. Bitcoin all the way at 96,000. Okay, we're almost at 55.3. So my zone on IBIT, I didn't think it would get there this fast. 55 1/3 is where we wanted to be playing this name. Looks like we're going to get there a little faster than anticipated. PDD still good. We won on NVIDIA. PDD still looking fine off that topping tail candle.
Yeah, we are, oh boy. We are now $2.50 in the money. We just shorted Tesla up there again, so we took advantage of that bump. Like we talked about, oh boy, I have to do it. This is a hot dog cannon. I mean, I can't, you can take me, you can't take the excitement out of the trader, that is for sure. Here it comes to the downside there, 384 and change. We're short at 385.70. So let's take another piece out here as we're down to the bottom there. So that was in and out. That was actually an accident. I put the wrong stop, so we just got out of a piece, and then we averaged it more up there at 386. So that's a flat trade. Here's the short that you guys can see. So we're in it. But as to Neil's point about Apple and NVIDIA and all that kind of blowing out to the upside, same thing here with AMD. I'm going to take advantage of this and see if I can get a little bit more short. Remember, our stop is going to be up here at 1450, like just kind of daring AMD to get up a little bit. I mean, I don't want to play the daring game here, but let's just see if the chips actually want to wake up. And if they do, then fine. We have our targets right now for that. So it looks like we are starting to get some upside moves in the market. I don't know if that's going to be true for Tesla. I'm going to put another bid here at 50 and see if we can grab that for that $1.30. Meanwhile, we go over here to FXI, and this is starting to get even more spicy, as I was not expecting this kind of a move in China right now. China was down almost 2% there, and it's been straight upside right now. So let me check out to what's happening in some of the other names. Maybe Adara. I don't know why China's going back to the upside. I guess it's okay. There goes Alibaba, huge. Yeah, were you just in PDD?
PDD's right. I'm
still in it.
Oh, where's
the position board's there. Yeah. So you're still in. Okay, so we're trying to ride this short right now, but it does look like we are getting pretty close. That's like 85s. I'm going to stop out. So 31.85. FXI getting excited a little bit for me right now as the shorts are starting to blow up against us. I thought this was going to be a good short day. We're still fine on the day. Obviously, it's 9:42, but let's go find out what Adara has for us as I fix my stop on FXI.
I'm not seeing any specific China moves. It just looks like much like we saw with Bitcoin. They got particularly sold off and then bounced. But like I said, it's not just mega caps. I mentioned earlier this KC Kingsoft Cloud, which is a Chinese ADR at day's highs right now. And it's a small cap. So it seems like really if you are in that ADR space, much like what we saw with Bitcoin, specifically MSTR and all of those stocks bouncing, it looks like a bit of a relief rally, guys. Back to you.
Yeah,
no doubt it's a relief rally because PDD was just at 106,
you say.
And then it just took that 108 level that we like. So unless it comes back underneath 108, I'm not jumping back in. I don't want it filling in this $3 gap. That puts it in mean reversion territory. Okay, well, we got out of NVIDIA with the intention of allowing it to travel higher, well, that's what it's doing. So it's coming back. At least it's lower highs. Everything else is sort of breaking out, but it's trying to put in some lower highs. 115 is the original stop from before. That's where we want to jump out. Got to start looking for what do I even like to the long side, though. And it's not a lot. Like, I wasn't thinking a lot of longs down here. That said, all right, I got to show you Apple. Apple just absolutely dumped into 230. So we had it twice. First time good, second time not. But Apple absolutely dumping now, back into these lows. We're going to have to look for some kind of a 230, 50, right back where we got in before. I want to stick with the short as long as this NASDAQ is battling the tops and not holding the tops. The market looking like it is trying to fail underneath these highs. We knew we wanted the short some pops in here today, so it's going to stick with that till proven otherwise.
Neil, I don't know what just happened with Tesla right there, but we just got short pretty sweetly up 387 right there for Tesla. So here we go, man. We're short at 386.73. My stop is 388 here on Tesla. So let's take some out. Boom. Oh, yeah. Nice move there. And oh, yeah, we got reloaded right there on AMD as that's trying to get back into the downside as well. So, so far, so good here. Tesla, nice move, man. We just shorted that, just tried a little bit of a cover here. If this market falls down, oh boy, we should be okay on that one. Oh boy, as AMD downside, Adara.
We have numbers here. So in a couple seconds, we're going to be getting S&P manufacturing PMI data. We are expecting 50.1. We just got slightly lower than expected over here in Canada about 15 minutes ago. And we actually got higher than expected PMI, 51.2 versus 50.1 expected. Let's take a look at that NASDAQ to see how we're reacting here. Yeah, a little bit of a continued drop here to the downside despite an attempt to push off at the open. We'll take a look at the S&P 500, which is behaving pretty similarly here, tries to push off the open, is not able to really hold these highs. It's also worth noting here, we're going to have ISM manufacturing PMI at 10 a.m., as well as construction spending month over month, guys. Back to you.
Now we are, Neil, we are at, there it is, day goal made right now, day goal made. We talked about that we would do this for you every single time it does happen. And there it goes, man. It's 9:45 and our goal for the day is made. We did it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, not on Friday, but we do it right now, today, again now. So that's 4 out of our last 5 days. We hit our daily goal, but we've surpassed it those 4 out of 5 days. We kept on going. There goes Tesla, nice little downside move. We have no idea what's going to happen. There goes FXI. Good reload off of where? What did we write down? 3180. So there it comes into the downside. We take the shares. It's part of this move for me profit-wise is FXI. So if this Chinese ETF falls, continues to go upside, then this daily goal will be wipey. But there it is right now. Here it is, 384 and change. I'm going to get some more out on Tesla. It's so volatile. This market, like the net is like, which is why we don't necessarily want to sit on our hands. You want to make sure that you're able to take some profit out when you see fit. So there it goes. Huge downside move right now for Tesla, honestly, trying to break the lows. We have 3 shorts, all pretty good, man. Look at that one. You got to take trades if they're there. This was, again, $1 worth of risk. 388 right now to ring in about 250. So not bad at all. AMD, okay, now we're really at the highest spot we've been at all day. FXI is getting all over itself right now into the 60s. Have to get some more out here on FXI. That was a nice move down for us that we did not capture. Wow, things are really moving short side now, Neil.
Yeah, we just fell right into the low of the day on NVIDIA, ES, and NASDAQ, both of them back underneath VWAP. We failed the top on both those markets, both those futures markets. So it looks like we're right back into the downside here. NVIDIA's trying to hold on to 113 at the bottom. Just going to short the pops into VWAP every chance we get. Got that wick on PDD. It failed to 108, so we jump right back in. We're looking for the low of the day there. The only thing we're not back into is Apple, but that's not the first place I want to jump to. It's going to be General Motors. Went right to 47.5 and pulls into VWAP. So I want to short this one back. It's trying to fill the gap just like everything else. 48 was kind of that previous low. It already put in a lower high once. Let's see if it can do it one more time. But you got to take the profits because we've been bouncing off of these lows how many times now? So like this is, well, on NVIDIA, here's the 3rd time it's bounced off this 113.5. So if you're getting 115s, that's great. It's giving you that move, but you got to take your profits. If we get VWAP again, we'll take it again. But it's still higher lows and a flat top at 115. The shorts are now starting to work and starting to cruise. Just a matter of trying to pick a couple more up there. One of them being General Motors for myself. And shout out to everyone in the chat. We can't really look at everything, but Rigetti, I saw you there, Pitchbull. Rigetti got right to that $12 level and bounced, but I was obviously focused on other things at that time. But this is that bounce level on Rigetti. I just feel like you already got your big move.
150%. Here comes Tesla right now. We are starting to go. We're going to be 3 for 3 really, really big right now. Like AMD is the one that's like hovering around upside right now, but I don't really even care anymore because this is now $4 in the money on a $1 risk. We're doing it right there. You guys, you asked for us to do this. We had our very best month of all time last month there in January, so I want to thank everybody for that. And we told you that we were on one. We had one of our best trading months in January, and then we come back, we look at our watch, oh, it's February. It don't matter what month it is. What are you kidding me? Here it comes to the downside right now again, as we love the volatility, and it's going to be a banger situation here so far today. We only have about a quarter left of this Tesla trade, but believe me, a quarter left for me is just fine. 381.50 right now is my bid on Tesla, and oh boy, here we come in again. Neil's got the bangers, we've got the bangers. Here comes AMD right now on multiple reloads. Okay, there it is. I mean, we've already told you what we've been doing. Here comes FXI. We got a great fill there at 62. I mean, if this can come back in, that would be great. We talked about where we were trying to load back up there on FXI. You can see what's been happening right there. So it's AMD right now, 30 cents in the money. It's the biggest and the baddest of them all. It's Tesla right now. And by the way, Neil, this is the best part about what we're doing. Tesla right there, the #1 trade idea on the board there. We find it, we trade it. It doesn't get to our levels, no problem, but we go over to Tesla, find new levels for you, give them here live, and right there, down 5% right now for TSLA. I might take another point here. I mean, we're 450 in the money, Neil. I think we should take something out. And so we'll get another piece out there on Tesla if we can. And there it goes. Next bid, let's go to 381 quarters. See if we can get something down there as we'll wait for FXI and AMD. It looks like some of the chip names are catching a little bit of a drift here. So this might be my next exit right here on AMD. Don't need to trade them all, Adara.
Beware here, we do have comments here coming from the Mexican Minister of Finance talking about sectors that might be impacted heavily by tariffs. He specifically named autos, computers, and electronics, so maybe keep an eye on some of those sectors. But also, if you're looking for any things that are moving sharply to the upside on this day that's been a little bit more oriented towards the downside, we do have ABV, ABBV. This ticker is up about 3% on the day. This is around 189, and this is also a day 2 earnings play. So ABBV, one ticker that is actually sharply to the upside during this selling heavy morning, guys. Back to you.
It is definitely turning a little bit more sell heavy. So look, the only thing that's kind of strong right now, some of these Chinese names, big test coming in here for PDD. Looking over, it just put in a lower high, but we just bounced VWAP. So if we're going to stay short underneath 108, this lower high needs to maintain. We're going to play the hump. As long as it holds here, want to stay short into the lows of the day. As mentioned with NVIDIA, it's right back at that low. So obviously we like levels like 17 and 18. What are you going to do? It doesn't trade at those prices, right? You get lower high, lower high, lower high. So we're going to keep playing lower highs as long as they want to give it to us over and over again. And then do not want to miss Apple here. Apple fail at the pre-market high. We've been shorting the 231 area, 1 for 2 shorting Apple. We come back into that same price, we're going to go for it again, just around VWAP. Stick with the short, the pops, as long as we hold the weakness that we're seeing right now in these markets. So I want to give them their due. And for everyone that's looking at that Rigetti at the $12 level, it's done. All right, it just did the reversion now off 12 again. So Rigetti, I'm not saying it's going to go up forever, but that $12 level has held, and we like reversions in this market. So you're going to close above trend line, long to the local bottom, play back into VWAP, and then prior lows here on RGTI.
Dude, this is $7.
Looking obviously strong off that $12 level. This is the level we like, guys. That's why we gave it to you.
Almost 200% now, Daly's goal right here come into play there. So there goes FXI, it's 952. There goes Tesla. Tesla, Neil, is now a $7 winner right now, as we'll say what's up to Max, who chooses Lambos over Teslas. Yeah, I mean, if everyone's joining us right now, I hope you guys are having a great time. It's been a big day again here today. I know it sounds like a broken record, but I mean, all these trades that we're putting on are right here for you. There it goes right now. I mean, these marks are actual trades. I mean, you saw me put all of these on. Some traders talk, some traders trade. And oh boy, right now, are we ever putting up, I hope, for you. There goes 380, but it does look like okay, I was gonna say we did get a little bit of a bounce. I just put a bid down there at 379.50 for this trade. Not sure, because that was a nice little bounce. Let's see if we get a retracement there on that. All right, so for AMD, we've gotten more out of FXI. FXI does not really want to break lower, by the way, but AMD right here in the 70s. I'm going to put another bid at 72 right now, see if we can get that. I'm waiting in the 30s, but we just bounced off of the 50 period and off VWAP again right here, so I'm not sure. I'm going to take another piece at 77. Did I get that 77 there? Yes, I did. Okay. All right. Well, here's a nice little move back up there for AMD. So AMD definitely, look what the NASDAQ is doing. So you don't need to fight trend. I was actually talking about this with Obi in the lunchroom there as we got coffee before, and it was just like he looked back at all of his trades, which is good for him. I mean, I don't go back and look at them all month over month, but he was looking and saying his worst ones were obviously fighting the trend, and I was just like, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, right? And he's like, he's talking about being a reversion trader. That is literally fighting the trend. So you're gonna have to try to figure out how to get through that. And again, just be yourself. And when you think that you're getting a little stubborn with trades, exit those trades, because like right now, I'm not really feeling too comfortable about this AMD. So I'm going to start to get out. Could it be the huge banger that I think it could be? Yes. But at the same time, we already got that. Like this Tesla trade is already an absolute monster. This trade alone is more money, I think, on this trade alone than I made on Tesla the whole month of January. So yeah. And it's not a breakout. It's just our style of getting in there, getting out. We'll show you many different styles. And this one is what it is. This was this one right here, we talked about where our stop was, $1 away. So this is 6 to 1 risk to reward. We're gonna get another piece out there and see where we go. And then this was a great call too, I think. I mean, FXI to the upside. The only problem with this was we did start a little bit early. But I'm here to tell you that FXI, we're up the same amount on FXI right now as we are on AMD. So we'll have to let this one settle down and see if we can get a little bit more on that. But okay, so that's a little bit of talk for me there. Let's see how low Tesla can go, unfortunately.
Well, it's not unfortunately when you're short. But
no,
obviously
but I feel
the long
like we all have it.
Yeah, well, we all own it in our long term, but this could be opportunities in that long term scenario. But for the day trade, you got to worry about the bleed. Look, obviously, you got to be concerned with any longs. That said, a reversion strategy, you just have to have some kind of an entry plan. So with Rigetti down 7%, it bounced off 12. There's your trend down. It closed above the trend line. I'm looking for a pop back into VWAP and then see how far it wants to go here. But you're catching a little bit of a bid. Let's see if we can get to VWAP and then that 1250 area on RGTI heading back to the upside, at least temporarily, right? But the market, look, we're down. It's a weekday. It is what it is. I'm still playing for this NVIDIA to be a short at VWAP into 115 and then try to hold for the low. So this could be our chance for a reload here on NVIDIA. And whoa, okay, Apple. That's not what I expected. Apple was just cruising into VWAP and now breaking the lows again.
What?
So Apple's taking it on the chin. Remember, this is after earnings for Apple. So they've already had earnings, which I think makes these ones better to play. But looking very, very weak here on Apple relative to everything else I'm looking at. It's the Chinese names that I can't believe they're buying them back up. PDD will be the red one for me because it just can't seem to hold lower. Every time we short the 107 to 107.5, it just breaks back higher. Higher lows over and over again. There was one reversion that was pretty solid, but for now, just going to have to back away from Pinduoduo. All right, Rigetti just gave us a second fill at VWAP and starting to curl back in. So Rigetti's curled where we wanted it to, but it couldn't get past VWAP. So we're able to get this nice 30-cent range in here on Rigetti off that 12 level, but if it makes a fresh low, you got to be able to jump out of that one. We'll see if we can get some more in front of VWAP.
So our Spidey sense is right again, by the way, because look what just happened there for AMD as it just blew to the upside there. So we'll try one more short right now ahead of that 50 level, which is our out. So right now our average price is 25s. Here it comes in. This could actually wind up being a winner. I do have something on the bid at 20 now, just in case we do come through. We do have numbers coming up here at 10 o'clock. So we'll have to wait to see what happens right there. And I'm just going to check our note today and see what numbers we do have. So we have ISM manufacturing coming out, expected 54.6, and construction spending. I don't think that's going to necessarily affect our boy here at AMD, but there it is, Neil. Nice move to the downside again. So there's the reload on AMD. Here I am talking about it like this is a problem, and then it just goes right into the money for us nicely here for Advanced Micro Devices. Okay, well, no more problem with that trade as that just rips right upside there on Advanced Micro. Gets us short, we're in it. All right, so we covered some more here, 381. It looks like Tesla's trying to get going. Now we have less than 10% left on this Tesla trade as we'll just wait out. It's 958. And, you know, the market has been up and down just a little bit. But I was going to say, but at the same time, it's just right where it started again. So, like, here's where the market opened up here on the NASDAQ. It's a huge move up. There was like some, I don't know what it was there. I guess just a relief rally as people covering their shorts, I guess. Short into the weekend makes sense, right? You got to cover. There's that move in. And then I feel like reality set. And then that's where we really just got like locked and loaded on all that. So I was just like, again, stick with what you think. You know, don't listen to myself or Neil or anything like that. Like, you got to have your own convictions in this because Tesla, right away off the jump, man, we were looking for much higher. But then again, we saw the way it was trading and we stuck our neck out on this trade. And it could have gone the other way. Every trade can. But there it goes right back into the downside. So stay with what you're trying to do and trust on that. You will be rewarded, right? I mean, this is what the hard work, it's nice to see hard work pay off. We talk about it with our kids and with sports and everything like that. And here it goes again, right? I mean, stay in the game, stay alive, make sure you trade properly. And right now, as I say this, Neil, I'm at the highest spot we've been at all day for myself. So I'm going to be, you know, congratulatory of that one. Have some hydration, nation. I might go get a coffee soon. But right now, nice downside push there for AMD. Let's hold on. We're out of 75% now of this trade period because nervous hands on this AMD trade. All right, you want to talk about Rigetti and then Adara?
I took another out on Rigetti.
Oh, we have numbers. Oh,
okay, let's go to the numbers first.
Let's go.
We're in 1 second here. Going to get the ISM manufacturing PMI. It just came out, and it's a little bit higher than expected. 50.9 for that ISM manufacturing PMI versus 50 expected. This is also here. We had the S&P manufacturing PMI higher than expected. So both these PMIs, manufacturing above expectations here. ISM manufacturing prices paid above estimates. Employment index sharply above estimates here, 50.3 versus 47.8. And higher than expected construction spending on a month-over-month basis. So 0.5% versus 0.2% expected. So to recap, every number we got at 10 a.m. was above expectations, including construction spending and ISM manufacturing PMI, which, much like the S&P manufacturing PMI, above estimates there. NASDAQ bouncing a little bit here off of these lows, but still sharply down the day. We know there have been concerns here about tariffs, specifically Mexico, Canada, and China, and some retaliation with regards to these tariffs. And that's been really weighing down the market, though it's not really weighing down Meta. Meta's actually been really strong today here. There was a leaked memo from its chief technology officer saying that 2025 will basically either prove the metaverse to be a legendary misadventure or a visionary bet. So Meta on watch there. We also have Amazon and Google on watch this week as well. 2 Mag 7 set to report this week, though Amazon's been selling off all day. And the crypto space, certainly hot as well. MSTR, just one example here. But a lot of these, much like these Chinese ADRs, actually bounced a little bit off the open, guys. Back to you.
Thank you very much there, Adair. So we're out the third time on NVIDIA. Twice it pulled 15 down into the low, but now you're breaking out higher lows all the way on NVIDIA. I saw some people talking about Intel. I'll get there in a quick little second, but Rigetti is right back into our entry zone. With a mean reversion play, it's reversion in, reversion out. I'm not just sitting on the bid at $12. That's not the plan. If it comes back down into our price, does the same thing where it breaks the trend and then kind of closes higher, then we'll do the reload. So that's the execution plan here in Rigetti. It's down 8% and obviously trending down with some lower highs. Doesn't mean I won't still take the longs up there, but have to be a little bit more patient with it. Oh, there's another wick top. Ooh, they just did another wick top there on NVIDIA.
Bye-bye.
As long as 115 holds underneath, I'm going to keep taking my shots at it. I have not traded GM yet, but GM is now coming back to that 47.5. So there's our go zone on General Motors. Reversion trade here for GM. Looks like any second now.
I guess you guys are right. It doesn't really matter if we celebrate or not. The proof is in the pudding. $9 winner now with Tesla, as that is just coming. So it's a 9-to-1 right there on that one. So we do have less than 10%. Now we have 7.5% left. $9. Neil, man, man, what a time to trade. Neil and I talk about this. Like this is just getting started. Like we had mentioned this earlier that we had probably the best week since we started this whole show for myself last week. And then we come in here today and start to hit these sort of levels again, and we've upped our levels. We've upped our expectation here today because you don't just stand still in this game. We talked about this. When you have confidence, when you have the ability, when you have things working for you, you go up. You don't go back, you go up. So you increase your share sizes. That's why we talk about those kind of things here. When you have things working out for you, you use more shares. So then today, there it goes. It's a nice move to the downside. I mean, I literally hear that's all these guys preach, right? I mean, in the back, we talk about trading campus. You talk about being on a prop floor. Why else do you think you want more margin? Why do you want more capital, right? It's to get better and to increase and go with the flow of what you're doing. So, I mean, we just continue to putting up just numbers here, and if you're looking for some of these trades, I mean, there it is. We talked. I mean, even this one, our stop is 114.50. I mean, it's right here, Neil. 114.51 is our stop. We're short 39. That's 11 cents to get 80. This is another 6 or 7 to 1 winner. And again, it's not like I'm just like picking these randomly. I've only had 3 trades, and I discussed all 3 of them exactly what the plan of action was. This Tesla trade, which is now $9 in the money going down. We're over $10. I know you're flat. I'm over $10 right now in the money on these 3 positions. And one of the biggest ones, actually, just because of share size, FXI is doing quite well. And there it goes again, man. There it is for you, Ozan. I apologize. Someone wanted me to wear my pink salmon shirt today because it was going to bring good luck. But I mean, we talk about that sort of jinx with the dare and whatnot on what people are wearing. It don't matter about that. You got to stick with your plan, stick with what you're doing. And there it goes, man. AMD now, just an absolute monster trade as it continues to go one way here. So AMD, nice downside move. That's $1. This is $9. And FXI right now, $14 and making moves down lower as well. So, okay, that's about it for me there. Neil entering GM. I like that.
We'll see. It's giving me, oh, wait a minute. Yes, if you are a skilled trader and lacking capital, prop firms offer the opportunity to trade with simulated funds, allowing you to showcase your skills, access account sizes ranging from 5K to 500,000, and you can start with as little as $20. But with over 500 prop firms out there, how do you find out which are the best? That's where Prop Firm Match steps in. Prop Firm Match is your go-to platform for finding and comparing only the most esteemed firms with proven track records and consistent long-term payment histories. Access over 4,500 verified reviews, explore payout histories, and discover the best current deals all in one place. Scan the QR code or visit propfirmmatch.com today and find the perfect prop floor for you. I got the e-signal as well. I just see them in there.
What's up, e-signal? What's up, e-signal?
Yeah, so no, all I was getting at was, before we did that, there's our break of trend on GM. It's the first time we're going to get in there. Obviously, it came to 47.5 already once, but the break of trend, we're going to pull back into prior high, give it to the local top. If it breaks top, then we're going to jump out of the trade. Rigetti is right back into that $12 level, 21. If it gets to $21, that'd be great. But it just broke that 12. So there was your one chance to get it at VWAP. Now it's breaking lower. Obviously, I'm not taking it unless I get that reversion trend. If it's trending down, I want to catch it on the way back up. And if it does another reversion, it might be a heck of a lot deeper. So GM's the new one we're into. NVIDIA, we got taken out, and it's still under VWAP, but putting in higher lows. So I'm right back to the 115. This is the only level that we've been trading on NVIDIA. I would like to see it put in some lower highs and give us another better entry point on NVDA. So it's just GM that we got into new. NVIDIA, we're looking at the exact same level we've been trading the entirety of the morning. And I said I would look Vader Trader. Yes, I said I would go to Intel, but I'm probably not as bullish as you on this stock. It looks like a reversion, at least until 19.5. Until it gets past its close price, which is actually 1943, I'm just looking trend reverts at this time of day. So pretty much the same thing that you see over in GM, what I'm doing now, is the same thing I'm looking for here with Intel. Lose the trend and then short the pop, as it's a very, very strong name, at least for the time being here on Intel. All things considered, 1.3% to the downside is actually a strong day for for this stock.
All right, thanks. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. I don't, let me see how many we have here right now. Okay, so 496,000 subscribers. So like, let's go, let's get this going, hit this. We have tons of information here. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Where does it show? Oh, there it is, 497,000 subscribers right now. Less than 3,000 away. We have over 5,000 videos live for you. We have mobile stream. We have all this stuff going on right now for you. We have Learn to Trade coming in the afternoon. So just guys, hit the like, hit the subscribe. I mean, I don't, you know, if you're looking for trades, great. If you're looking for some ideas and some good talk, we're here for you as well. Nobody trades the way we do over here. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that is there right now. And go give your boy a follow right now as well for this. I mean, now $11 in the money on Tesla right there as well. We're trying to approach that 50,000 followers right there. So we're getting into that as well. 491, we got to update that soon as we approach 500,000. So I want to thank everybody for all of that. And what's up, Adam DeLuz? There's more covering down here. We have about 15% or so left of this FXI trade. It's not really doing anything for us anymore. It won't even be, it'll be a green name, but it won't be like an exciting one, unfortunately. We just never got down into here. So I feel like the short was fine. Why we shorted it again was the tariff talk. We thought that there could be some, you know, negative love for China today, and actually went the complete opposite way. So I think that we're actually wrong on this trade. The only problem, the good thing about it is that we identified our levels. So when it came up here, we knew we wanted to put some shares in, and we did that, and you know, the rest there is history. Only 5% left now on Tesla because we got that fill right there at 378 quarters. It does go down into 376 there, though, as well. So watch out for that. Maybe a 380, or I was just debating now that we have less than 5% left, although it's still a big trade. I mean, even with the amount that we have left on, it would still be huge. So we'll just wait though. 380, I think we'll take another piece out, and then after that, we'll let it go. I guess I could cancel my stop, which is at 388 right now for this trade. So I'm going to cancel the 388 stop. That's $10 away, and then put it at 380, and then we'll figure it out from there. And then AMD was pretty special as well, as that came right back in, and we were able to capture a lot of that profit back in the 50s and the 200 period. So it's been a really, really good day over here. I'm not sure what your day's up to over there, but it's been pretty good over here.
We're back into Rigetti at that $12 level. It did the exact same thing we wanted. So very quickly, there is your break. There is your hold of a prior low in the $12 level. We'll give it to the local bottom. If it loses the trend again, obviously, you know, this one is not going to hold up forever. Still downward trending, still not looking very decent. But here comes NVIDIA. Just want to stick to the plan. Here's that 115 again. It just wicked it on some more higher lows. At this point, with the trend looking clean upside now, I got to look for what I'm looking for in Rigetti, which is break the trend line. It's just higher lows into a top. And if it does that, then I want to make sure that we're a little bit more disciplined with our entry and not just shorting the level, but shorting any kind of a curl. I will look at Palantir's eye. This is one that we thought 82. I thought 82 was going to be the spot. Obviously, it's got a different story here, holding underneath VWAP. If I was trading this, I would be looking at a VWAP short. But 82 was my level, and it hasn't really gotten there. That's the only reason I didn't trade Palantir, is it did not come anywhere near that 82. But you're looking at the rest of the market weak. I think you just stair-step it down on Palantir, and why look at anything else? As far as I'm concerned, that's what it looks like to me. So here comes NVIDIA. Finally could put in a nice little lower high off this 115. Still trying to stick to plan. You've seen it over and over again here at the 115. Outside of this one little stop out, this has been the spot to go. Looks like we're now finally reverting that trend. Rigetti doesn't hold, so the first time was good. The second time, stay disciplined, keep it under the prior bar. We're going to hang on to GM. We're going to try to get back into NVDA. And Apple, oh my goodness, Alex. Apple continues to absolutely bleed. This one got the best of me because I wasn't able to get back into this one off of VWAP. You can see what I was trying to accomplish with NVIDIA. It looks like Apple was just a little bit better to the south side. I thought NVIDIA was really going to go downside more than Apple today, but seems like that's not the case. So we might have to be patient, look for the next trading opportunity. I don't want to be going long on Apple like we did on Friday all the way down until we see like the end of the open range. Like at about like 11 o'clock, like much later on, that might be a spot to look for some kind of a bounce. But the mistake on Friday was missing any chance at an early short and then just trying to go long the entire way to the downside. That I do not want to do here with Apple. So it is what it is. That was one that we liked to the short side and just couldn't catch. But NVIDIA is still going to give us an opportunity off that 115. Oh, and remember Intel. This is still trending back into that prior high. I don't know why it didn't save this, but I'm still looking for the exact same entry point as before. Lose the trend and then play it back into VWAP. The same thing we're playing here in GM, very specific sort of entry style. It's very close to getting all the way back into that high. But another 1% on Intel, and then we'll look for that curl. Oh my goodness, Palantir.
And just, what is Palantir doing?
It's taken the stairs, like every even dollar on Palantir, 81, 80, right into 79. The pattern's pretty distinct, but the market's at the low, so I don't want to short anything when the market's at the actual support level. Let it bounce or let it revert, and then try to get in.
All right. All right, I'm going to add my headphones and go back. So I want to get some water, and sometimes they drop out. Okay. All right. That's Palantir. I mean, it's pretty good. Like, we come back here, and all we're noticing right now is Tesla at the basement again, down to 376 right now. This is an $11 now. FXI did fall out again, basically off of this level. I'm going to now just pretty much get, if we can get, I'm going to put a bid here at 61. We might as well do that right now. Actually, I'm already there. So I'm at 64s on FXI, and then I got to cancel. I'll go to 50. So I'm at 64, 57, and then 50s. So if we do get a downside move there, and notice where we put them, right? 64s right here in front of the 200 period. And then we got a 57 ahead of VWAP right there. We've had these sitting there for a minute. Like, I was just coming back to double check. And then we do have one ahead of the 200 period as well. Actually, that's at 50. So hopefully we can get a little bit of a downside push on those. AMD's still working. So, but now that I look at this, AMD's right at these levels. So I do not have any other bids here. So let's put a bid out now for AMD as it comes right back into the 50 level right there. So, all right. What else do you guys want to talk about? Tesla starts to panic at 350. I mean, we're still here for a long time. What's up, Nelson? Right here. Let's get this going on, because we're now like, we're now 100%, 70%, 80%. We're about 165% of our daily goals right now, and at the highest spot as this market just keeps on coming to the downside. I mean, we actually wrote down on the sticky note here, just I don't have a long idea on there. Oh, the one long idea that we do have actually. Oh, first of all right. I love the show keeps playing what VWAP is. I'm looking short on MSTR. Okay, so VWAP is volume weighted average price. We do have some videos out about that. I like to short things that are underneath it and long things that are above it. It's the pink one, right? It is the purple line. The pink is the 50 period. The 200 is the green. I will look at that. Thank you, Nelson. But VWAP, just go look at VWAP, volume weighted average price. Thank you, Nelson, for that. Lots of videos out there explaining all about it. But it was UNG. I was looking at this. I wrote down, and I still have it here, breaking through 1760 as a top break. That didn't happen yet. It looks like it doesn't want to do anything. So I'm going to cancel that for right now and have a look at United States Gas a little bit later, because up 8%, I was like, oh man, this is like the Widowmaker. Maybe it actually goes, but it's not doing anything. So feel pretty confident just waiting on that right now. Another opportunity to get out of AMD. We just took it there. And then Tesla, 375. I mean, man, to say that we called this is accurate, because this is exactly what we called. We said Tesla short. We gave you it right here. It's the #1 trade idea for me today. So it's by far the #1 P&L. This is the most money I made on Tesla in a while, despite having $20 winners and stuff. Again, when you're on a hot streak, Neil, you get a little more confident, a little bit more aggressive. And that's what we did right there with Tesla today, shorting it 3 times and watching this thing now go $11 in the money, right down to its lows. And I am going to cash some out right here, because that's 375. We bounced off there before. Let's see if it happens one more time now for TSL to the ADERA.
This part of the show is brought to you by WorkSport, introducing a new discovery on the NASDAQ, WorkSport, ticker WKSP. WorkSport is a U.S.-based manufacturer and rapidly expanding with a growing revenues, government contracts, and innovative green energy products designed to power your life off-grid. So whether you're on the move or seeking sustainable energy solutions, WorkSport has you covered. Now trading on the NASDAQ under WKSP. Discover the future of clean energy with WorkSport. Definitely give that chart a look, guys. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara. Shout out to WorkSport there. With opening range is now done. We just got, okay, Bitcoin's at my level, but very quickly, right back into first support on GM. So we shorted the reversion there when it broke 47, looking for another bid at 46. Then we'll look to the low, not the low of the morning, because I guess in the pre-market it was actually down at 45.30. So 46.10 and then 45.90 are the next two targets here on General Motors. But Bitcoin is right back into 97. And it's right at that 55.3 level on iBid. That's the place I was looking for the curl. So we're here now. There's the trend line. It's actually put in higher lows that are lining up almost perfectly. You close underneath that. It's the simple reversion. Same entry style as what happened over there on GM. So I'm looking for the same entry style here on iBid. As the market at the lows, looking for that curl right here on IBIT. The other thing, which is the next trade for myself, is Intel is right back up, filling in that gap and doing the same type of reversion. So there is Intel right back into that prior high, looking for the curl here on INTC as well. So Bitcoin probably going to do it first because like you can see how much stronger Intel is on that last little bit of a wick. But I got both those up, looking for the first one to do the curl underneath, and then we'll grab it. Not quite at our next bid on General Motors, but it is certainly getting there. But just got to wait for these entries. So the market breaks the low. I think Bitcoin is going to have a hard time holding these highs if the NASDAQ holds underneath prior level support. So I think this is going to come in first, and then we'll look over at Intel. If they happen at the same time, I'll probably be in iBit, just as a timing thing, and I'm on this level too, as opposed to Intel's. It's got to be ready for when it closes underneath there. I see there's some other names out there, that BCTX. I haven't looked at any of those small caps, but certainly on a day where the market is this weak, if you can find some gappers that are running, those can be your places for some longs, unless you're looking at some kind of inverted ETF. That's another way that you could play if you can only go long.
Yeah, that's why we look at TQQ, SQQ, things like that.
Oh, I could use a refill.
Ooh, I just got a kiss message from the wife. Kiss back to you too. Okay, so I don't know. We know how my day is going. How's everybody else's day going out there? I hope you guys are having a great day. If there are any, you guys wanted me to look at MSTR. We could definitely do that one as well today. Buying the ES off the open seems to have been a decent move until right now, as we continue to go lower right now in the ES. So there it comes now, down 1.91%. And you could see though, wow, we are now $13 in the money, Neil, on this Tesla trade right now. So, oh boy, on that one. And then here's AMD also trying to get lower. Everything is really working out nicely for us. We do have to go to Adair, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit about crypto.
Talk about a gap down here for the IWM. This one made intraday highs here around above $230. Now currently trying desperately to hold on to this 220.50 area. So quite a change here. We know IWM is very rate sensitive, and Michael Noss spoke this morning about how rates now could really be in question due to these tariffs. So IWM looks like it could be getting hit on those fears. Quite a few small caps, including Society Pass, SOPA. So not about, I believe, about a 6 million share float. So pretty small float here for Society Pass. No catalyst for this one. USEG does have a bit of a multi-day catalyst. This one's near day's highs. It is an energy-related name. We know UNG and some of these natural gas plays have been strong, but U.S. Energy Corp announcing back on Wednesday that they've extended their $5 million share buyback program. So that's a bit of an extended catalyst there, leftover catalyst. But we also have IVVD. This is a penny stock that has a catalyst today, though it has given up some of its earlier moves, basically providing preliminary Q4 revenue and revenue for one of its specific treatments that grew 48% year over year. So a couple different small caps to watch out for today if you're looking for some upside opportunities in a pretty downtrodden market, guys. Back to you.
There's a bid for that. Was a serious bid on the market just now at 10, right here at 1020. Just looked at it. Nvidia just popped right back into 115. Like, look at that absolute rocket of a spike. The upside. I haven't heard anything in my ear in quite some time. I'm not even sure my news source is working. GM, which was just absolutely cruising back in. We had just gotten filled. It's 46.4. Just broke back in through the high. So we're right out of GM on that reversion. Thank goodness. I was about to punch short into Intel as well. Like it was right about to close underneath that bar, and then we got a big break to the upside on Intel. So the reversion plays going to be out of, well, I'm not into Intel, but we're going to be out of General Motors, which was looking absolutely fine. Let's go back over to Adara.
So the only thing I'm seeing that could maybe explain this bounce is I'm seeing some comments coming through from Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. Apparently she said she had a, quote, good conversation with Trump. We know both Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau have said they want to talk to Donald Trump with regards to the tariffs levied against their countries, 25% tariffs, of course, for Mexico and Canada. So that's the only thing I'm really seeing here. We got a little bit of a volume increase on the NASDAQ as well with that push to the upside. But if I see any more comments here, I will let you guys know. People were also, I was seeing some people in the chat wondering if Donald Trump is speaking today. In my knowledge, he is not scheduled to deliver any remarks, but of course, there can be remarks coming out here. There's some other stuff coming out here from Claudia Sheinbaum, but the main thing there is that good conversation with Trump, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, they're exactly. That's what this talk is all about, right there. Yeah, like I know you guys. I just put in the chat there. Ask us anything you guys want to there, because we're willing to sit here and talk game with everybody. So, all right, right now we only have. I don't know what percentage left, not very much on AMD. I mean, we counted ourselves pretty lucky last time this had happened as well. So nice little move back up to the upside as everybody's starting to feel a little bit better now about their situation, right? So there's Tesla. We now have 2% left. So, okay, there's our last piece at 380. We want to get a little piece out right there. So now we have one last piece, which is that 2%. Again, out. Our best out is 376. So that was really great. And here comes that move right back now to the upside. I know it's been rough, you know, for some of you out there. But again, just stick with your plan. Stick with what you're doing. Trade the right names, and you'll be aight. What's up, Adara? Market ripping.
I'm seeing a little bit more here from Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, saying that apparently this good conversation actually led to some accords. So we actually have some agreement now between Trump and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum when it does come to these tariffs and the border in general. Apparently, Claudia Sheinbaum said that Mexico is going to be deploying some guards at the national border to ensure there aren't illicit materials smuggled into the border. We know that was one of Trump's concerns. Looks like we're getting even more comments here. I'm seeing, yeah, so now apparently Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is saying tariffs are delayed for a month. Again, these are just comments from her, and it's unclear if these are for Mexico and Canada, or entirely, and Donald Trump has not confirmed this, but Claudia Sheinbaum saying that the tariffs have been delayed for a month. If I see any confirmation on this or anything else, I'll let you know.
Well, a huge move on just about everything. I mean, IBIT's now at 56. What are we at, 98,000, the upside? So, like, here's NVIDIA. Goodness, we're not sitting on the offer. Which I was actually on the offer in front of 115, but when I saw the spike up in GM, I went over and canceled the offer almost instantly. But with that kind of news, gotta look for some longs at this point on a pullback. But the obvious place to me is going to be the buy the dip in GM. Like that was already putting in higher lows. It gave the revert. I think a dip back in a prior higher 47 is going to be a bit of a play. I can't imagine why NVIDIA shouldn't be a reversal, but I don't want to chase it up at the top on news and get away from that plan of action. Our key level was 115. So if that's a level I short every single time, if it holds above 115, that's a place I'm going to look for the long here on NVDA. Thank you for the super chat there, Mr. C. I like the financials. What are your thoughts on SoFi? I haven't looked at SoFi. I can tell you I like XLF, and I definitely like what the financials are doing for sure. SoFi in particular, holding on to 15, that's always a good sign, because 15 was a big level for SoFi, but I don't like the stair step down on that chart. I think if it holds 15, at least for today, I'd be looking for that 50-period moving average for some profits. Hasn't been a very good looking chart for that one.
Money. Do not want to interrupt Neil, but another $1.50 now in the money on Tesla as we got it reloaded right back in there again. So now we're short at 383 now on Tesla as it comes right back up into the moving averages and into your question to me was VWAP, and there it is right there. So we shorted into that. Now we're taking out a little bit of profit on this one. I'm getting out if this breaks 384. So $1 in right now. It's like 1-to-1, but I don't, again, if these tariffs and that talk is real, then obviously that is just that sort of green shoot that everyone's looking for. And here it goes. So that's why we got out. Okay, there it goes. So nice break there of 384. So Actually, on that last little bit, we were pretty much flat on that. That was 383.50, 383.50s, twice 383, 383.50, then the blowout to that upside as there we go right there, right now. We stay positive here today. So far, so good, obviously. FXI really taking out the top. Good trade there. Positive on FXI today, despite it going higher. You got to have your outs. And there it goes, man. We talked about what this market would be. Donald Trump is the president of the stock market. He sees something going wrong, he buys that rate back up, right? Like change the rhetoric completely on everybody right there. So now let's wait to see what winds up happening. And all of a sudden, there it goes. Boom goes the dynamite. He must have heard me say we bought off the open there. And there it goes right back. I was like, oh, that wasn't looking that great. And straight up now, nicely done for the ES. Was just down 2%, now only down that 1 as it continues to go higher. And as does Bitcoin. Our dip buys did not get filled. We talked about that one there, but oh boy, still a really good day over here on this side as we're going to go 3 for 3 right now and only in nothing as we're both not in anything right there.
Well, that move changes everything. And I think obviously if you had a key level price before, then you should like it again, just maybe in the other direction. Like obviously GM, if I scalp out of more of it, like probably more like Sean's style, I'd be up on the stock, but wasn't the plan of action. I'm holding for this to break into the lows. Like that reversion trade, I'm looking for it to revert the entire move. And then there was a lot of slippage on that. Sometimes when you get filled on a new stop, there was a bunch of slippage off that prior high, and that's never going to be a good thing, but you know this can happen. 47.512. This is where I want to see if we can catch a bid. A very similar look here. I've got NVIDIA up, which is now starting to pull back into that 115. If the prior resistance can hold as support, then that's where I want to be able to jump into it. But it needs to hold that top. Want to make sure that the key level we're working off before is still going to be a good one. And for now, it's looking relatively strong here on NVIDIA. Good timing, because I was about to say IBIT making another run for the top. Let's go to Adara because we've got our crypto segment.
That we do, and crypto actually recovering here quite nicely. This is the daily chart for BTC. We made a low below 92,000. As of right now, trying to get 98 halves, and it's pretty funny. This is something that Michael Nas mentioned when he was here on Friday in person, and also something that's been pretty prevalent here in social media, but there's been a lot of comments of this idea that when there are CEOs or crypto-related, I guess, entities on the covers of Forbes magazine, it tends to signify a bit of a temporary top in BTC. So this image is a little bit blurry, I apologize, but this shows here we had CZ here, the Binance CEO, on Forbes in 2018. Then there was a bit of a drop in crypto at the time. Then we had Sam Bankman-Fried on the cover of Forbes. It's, of course, that it would be the CEO of FTX. Then we have this drop, and then we get Michael Saylor appearing on the cover of Forbes magazine. He is, of course, the CEO of MicroStrategies. And, of course, we've recovered a bit of that move, but it's always really interesting to see sometimes how these things work out. Now, in terms of technical levels, we've talked a lot about that 92,000 level for BTC. We actually held above it, but this is the lowest that we've been, or at least that low is the lowest that we've touched since January 13th, 2025. So pretty significant there. We'll have to see if this recovery for BTC can continue. Let's see what other crypto-related names are doing. Ethereum, not much of a recovery, down about 15%, though it's worth noting our lows here were around 2,100 today. XRP are down about 10%. BNB, 10%. Doge, about 10%. Cardano, 13%, though Solana actually recovering not too badly here, only down less than 2%. So we'll have to see how these crypto names fare, but a lot of the crypto name-related tickers, including IBIT and MSCR, actually recovering quite nicely, guys. Back to you.
Holy crap.
A good rebound.
What a bounce on some of those.
Yeah, I know. We were looking, I called up the Solana chart, and I was like, this one looks the best. And only down 1% on Solana. Not bad. Okay, I've switched my focus here. We're going to go 3 for 3 today on the market and holding out pretty good as it's 10:30 right now. Thanks to Dara for that update. I think this Google break of 203 was what I'm looking at right now. So if we can get going on that, I think we want to be there for it. Let's just wait to see if it does come through there. I almost got slipped. I almost put the wrong trade in there. 203.30, we don't want 202.30. No, we want 203. So get the decimal place right there. So if that breaks that high, we'll take it. Also, I'm going to try to buy the dip. So I'm actually waiting here at 201.50 right now as well. So if that dips into there, we'll take that on Google. And the reason why I like it, again, reports later on this week. I don't know if it's Amazon or Google first. I think this might be tomorrow. So hold on a second here. GOOGL. Yeah, Alphabet. Hold on. There it is. Next one on the 4th. So yeah, tomorrow. So tomorrow night, Google will report. So I think we can, again, we like to try to stay away from names, especially on the day that they are reporting and maybe even the day before, but I mean, today's market is what it is. It's fine. So we'll try to take that for a long. I want to try to buy strong names. Apple was really, really weak on Friday as it gave up its whole earnings report and came negative, of course, and then made its way back in today. So this could be another name that I would short on too much strength. It's still down 2.6%. So I want to identify that for everybody as well. Intel is a name that I've recently bought in and around this level. So it's nice to see them getting upside again as Intel. I don't know if you've traded it today. I think maybe you have. But
no execution.
No execution on Intel. Yeah, I've heard you look at it. So Intel straight to the upside. That would have been great to execute on Intel breaking through $19. So congratulations, anybody had that. But for right now, my eyes, we did try dip buying again. We did try this on Tesla again right there. I think with this Mexican stuff, I'm going to stay away. The NASDAQ has broken a lot higher. If the TQs ever break trend, I have to switch. I talked about that with OB, and I feel like right now, if I was layering into this short, I would feel wrong. So I'm not going to do that. I'm probably about 5% away from the highest spot we've been at all day because we did get stopped out of that last Tesla trade. This FXI trade, we could be up a lot more if we got it all out. But we told you we held about that 12 to 15%. Did not work, did not reload out of that one. Still positive. And then again, the fact that we punched out of AMD right there was pretty saving the grace as it went in and out there. What's all the way to 115, which is where we said we would start to short AMD at 116. So maybe we have to be a little more patient and wait for that one. So, all right, that's what we're doing right now. I'm going to, we'll talk more about some crypto, especially if we're going to approach. I said 98 was the turning spot.
We're at 98 right
I know,
now.
and I just want to show this again just for everybody. We're going to go to Adair in 1 second because she has news. I mean, there's going to be ever-breaking news all the time, I feel like. But there it is right there, right up to that 200 period moving average on the 15-minute chart that we've looked at many times before. So it looks like it's starting to get a little bullish there on BTC, Adair.
Just be aware here of the market because we do have a press conference coming here from Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum. So basically what she said earlier and why this is really important to keep an eye on is that she had a call with Donald Trump and that they've actually reached some agreements on tariffs because of that call. So that's actually pretty huge. She also said that tariffs are going to be delayed a month. We're going to have to wait and see if that actually comes to fruition or if that includes Canada because these are pretty unclear and Donald Trump himself has not made any comments on this. But regardless, let's see what Claudia Sheinbaum has to say during her press conference with regards to the tariff delay and these accords that she came to during her call with Trump. I'm going to try to watch this conference here. If I can find a link in it with English subtitles, I'll let you guys know. Back to you.
Yeah, obviously this is going to be a news-driven type day where you got to keep your ear to the ground the entire way. I just heard like GeoVax is making a move, GeoVX. I'm going to get to crypto in one little second. Just want to pull this one up. Load. Yeah, so gapping GOVX, I just heard part of Stargate initiative, and then there is a massive gap to the upside. Not a lot of volume on this, so it just heard it hit the wire as we spoke. But IBIT is still holding trend and continue to the upside. The only thing I'm bidding right now is still NVIDIA, looking for the first eventual pullback, and then VWAP on GM after we got that big reversion, which is about 47.5. But you're still in the pocket for what I still think can be that nice little reversion trade on IBIT. Thankfully, we didn't do that on Intel. Well, because Intel didn't ever break the trend. As a matter of fact, it's just gone a little bit more parabolic. If anything, this is now breaking a second trend on Intel. So it just closed underneath the trend line. I can get rid of this old one and then work off of the new one. Looks like we've closed underneath. Thank you very much, Rob. So on the trend up, it didn't do it last time. Now it's doing it here. Going to give it to prior bar high, same entry as usual. Although this time I don't think VWAP is the target. VWAP very, very far away. I'm looking at the prior high here at 19.3. Intel, obviously a strong day, went right into prior resistance and then broke the trend back in. So we're now into Intel, looking for the same kind of thing on IBIT as well.
All right, traders, listen up. First month, It's free right now. Scan that QR code there with eSignal. That's right. We are waiving fees. Trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to an elite experience. Analyze, strategize, capitalize on this platform. eSignal. Everything. Infinite data. Instant trading. Lightning fast market insights. Game-changing charts. Predict the next move with backtesting. We talk about backtesting all the time. It's reliable, real-time data. All global markets, especially in the environment that we're in today. You're going to want to trade potentially names in the Hang Seng, names over there in Japan, Mexican, anything like that. All of these entitlements are available through eSignal, all at your fingertips, all in one platform. Don't miss out right now. Execute your best trades. Ready to elevate your trading? Scan that QR code or check the link in the description for everything you need to know about eSignal. So, yeah, man, so far so good here today. It doesn't look like we're going to get that Google break right now of 203. I'm actually starting to get turned off a little bit by it. I mean, if it's not going to move around, it's not going to move around, and we're going to wait for something to happen with Google. I mean, I would love to get that break of 203. Anything down here at 201, we'll be able to be all over that one, Adara.
So apparently we're hearing from Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum right now. She is talking during this press conference. In case you missed it, she said she had a call with Donald Trump during which she indicated that they could be delaying these tariffs by a month. More comments on this. So now she actually is saying during the press conference that she asked Trump with regards to the tariff pause. She proposed it here. She also said that she asked the U.S. to help stem some of this traffic as well, that I guess was leading to some of these issues here with the tariffs. Also, apparently, Trump insisted on addressing the trade deficit with Mexico, which is not going to be addressed here by the tariffs. Regardless, here, it's just keep an eye on this with regards to QQQ, and also keep an eye on any response from Donald Trump, who has not yet commented here on Claudia Sheinbaum's comments that there will be a delay of these tariffs that will last 1 month, guys. Back to you.
I mean, in and of themselves, I mean, it is what it is, but I don't know, trade imbalances in and of themselves aren't necessarily a bad thing. That's one of those, yeah, without getting too political about it. You learn that one in school. But here comes, so Intel got the reversion on Intel. IBIT is very close to doing the exact same thing. So it broke the first trend did not break. The second trend line, the more steep one in here, just broke, and we bounced off the first. If it can hold underneath that first trend, which goes all the way back to VWAP, then I think we can get a move back into VWAP. But let's see like 35s and 40s before we get too excited. Intel is looking relatively strong. And you have to keep in mind, this bounce on Intel, on a daily chart, is 1% away from the 52-week low. So it was like $18.51 was that bottom on Intel. So it is making another test of that low here. So as long as you hold here, fine, but you have a bit of a, it's not a head and shoulders, but you had a prior support level that it would have to chew through to get underneath that 19.4, get back down into VWAP. That's why you got to take some profits as they lie. The other reversion we're looking for is IBIT, which is still staying on trend, only barely, as it's starting to crest up there a little bit. So a little bit of a, call it a bull flag, whatever you want to call it, if we lose this trend line, looking for the pullback in Bitcoin into VWAP. So Intel we're in. We're looking to get into some IBIT. NVIDIA doesn't seem to want any part of that 115 anymore. So the level that I like, down at 115, just doesn't want to get there. So we were shorted 115 most of the morning with that news and with some progress being made on negotiations between Mexico and the US. Seems like this is strong. Still working with 115 until it shows me another area of support, which could happen here at 16s. But I'm being patient with it. It's still on the pullback. Wait for VWAP here for the long in NVIDIA.
Right now, let's just go over to everybody's favorite segment, because right now Google might break 203, but we got to figure this out first. All right. What's for lunch here? Let me a quick little look here. All right, so on today's menu, ooh, not too bad if you are a fan of actual lunch items. Right now today, it is, and you could do this little thing for this because it is grilled up. And here comes Google trying to break right now. It is grilled sirloin beef burger with mozzarella and jalapeno melt. So that's going to be really good with crispy Roadhouse French fries. Watch out now. There goes Google. Did it break? I guess it did. I did not get any shares, but there goes Google breaking through that level. So I don't know why we missed it. We'll punch a little bit long right here at 18. See if there we go. We get the pullback, so that's perfectly fine. Now our average price is 203.05, and there goes another trade for us on Google. We'll see if this one wants to work to the high side. See if we can just stack onto some of the wins already here. It's Google. Nice upside. Now we we can experience a pullback, as we know. So watch out. There's his first breakout trade. I'm just showing, hopefully, you know, sort of the ability that I have over here because, and again, to each their own, right? I mean, this is a breakout trade. We've played support and resistance. We've played a whole bunch of different styles of trading. And there it goes, Neil. Nice move now upside for Google as it's another, it's not chicken though, it's burgers, but it's gonna be another chicken dinner winner if it goes right now on Google. So boom goes the dynamite to the upside here for the market and hopefully for Google. So do you want to update Intel quickly or what do you want to do?
I'm taking I'm on the bid. I'm trying to take NVIDIA back through 118. If it goes way like 118 for a break. On my note, I didn't think this was going to happen, but we're at that 118 level very, very quickly in here. So I just want to get my order for the breakout and then we'll go back on over. All right, there we go. Orders in. I still like the dip buy as well. Reversion's a simple play. Right now, we're giving it to the prior bar high, but I like the close bar at 119.7. It just bounced off bottom. No reloads unless it holds underneath the trend line. But NVIDIA getting very close to our 118 reversal level. That was the only place where I like the automatic reversal long. And if the dip buy isn't coming, then we're going to have to take that. Let's go to Adara for Sector Watch.
Yeah, get it, Adara.
It's actually a day here where the market's down and the sector board reflects that because we don't always have that here. But of course, a lot of these tech names leading the sell-off. Electronic technology, we have Apple and NVIDIA sharply to the downside. Technology services here. Microsoft red, Google basically flat here, and Meta actually up on the day. So META, great look. We know this one made multiple new all-time highs, including above that $700 level last week with its earnings. But finance really weak here, led by Berkshire Hathaway down about 1.5%. Retail trade, a bit mixed as well. Amazon, Home Depot to the downside, but Costco up about 1.5%. Commercial services actually pretty strong here. Health technology, we have a 3.5% move up here in AbbVie on a day two earnings play. Some strength as well in health services, communications, and industrials. And then, of course, consumer durables. This is one of the biggest sectors to watch today because we do have tariffs on watch, which are very likely to hit the auto sector, specifically with regards to Mexico. So keep an eye here on these tariffs, and I will continue to keep an eye on any and every comment that has to do with tariffs as we continue to have negotiations now here from Claudia Sheinbaum, president of Mexico. We'll have to see what Trudeau has to say with regards to Trump and some of these negotiations, guys. Back to you.
Well, hopefully he makes some progress as well. That'd be nice, but I'm talking about Trudeau. In that meeting, because so far we only have half of the story already. Here comes NVIDIA, just broke the $0.50. It's cruising, you're at 60s. Pretty much inevitably, it's going to break this 118. It's a bit of a gap fill from overnight, but you have room. It closed at 120 bucks. So 120, there's 119, and then there's 120 bucks there. I think look for I'm still on the bid, and I want to pull a lower high before we get there, but the 118 still sets up for a breakout spot and a reversal. We were only ever looking short at the 115 here on NVIDIA. We'll play the higher low game, 117 first, then we'll try 116 as well. But that 118 break certainly sitting there. Rigetti, obviously it's gotten away from the reversion trade and is now screaming to the upside. I'm gonna like VWAP here too off of Rigetti. Rigetti holding 12 was just a support and resistance play. Now that it's held that level, I only wanna look longs. VWAP would be the next spot that we play RGTI. And lastly, as I said, I will not make any reloads in Intel unless it's underneath that trend. So we reverted the steep trend line. Unless it holds underneath that trend line, I don't want to add to it, even if it holds some resistance at the top here. If you hold resistance at the top, I want to reload, but we'll play underneath here on INTC.
All right. Yeah, a bit of a rough day for some symbols here, but this is going to be the only position right now that we worry a little bit about so far, and that's going to be Google. So it does break there. It didn't really do a whole heck of a lot on that break. Remember we told you, like the breakout trades, we like them, but with this kind of a market, you're really looking for that carry forward because if you don't get it, then all of a sudden the rhetoric changes about these tariffs or something like that, then it's completely different. You could see here, you know, We both will have completely different styles. We're going to continue to trade very similar names as this market is now moving. I see you're into CDMO over there. I don't even know what that is. But here we go right now for Google. I know you're short Intel, but all right. So let's just go over to Adair and figure this out.
More tariff things to keep an eye on here, which is, I think, going to be the theme of the day. We have the NASDAQ on watch. We were waiting for a comment here from Donald Trump with regards to these tariffs. Now apparently saying on Truth that he spoke with Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico and saying that, basically confirming what she said, they're going to be pausing the tariffs with Mexico for 1 month, during which there will be continued negotiations. So the negotiations are not ending just because these tariffs are pausing for a month. So that delay has been confirmed. We have heard nothing with regards to Canada yet, but the Mexican tariffs have been delayed for 1 month. That has been confirmed. And also here, we now have more comments coming out from President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico saying that she and Trump did agree to maintain a dialogue with no scheduled meeting. If you're enjoying all of this content, all of this up-to-date real-time news, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button, because we're the only channel on YouTube that's going to give you everything you need right here. Please help us get to 500,000 subscribers, guys. Back to you.
It's got filled on the bid there. Yeah, so Google's coming back. Yeah, make sure you hit the like and subscribers. We're approaching that 500,000 subscribers. Like I said, man, if you guys are looking for the trades today, I'll go 3 for 3 here today. Again, you can ask me anything about any of the trades that I've made so far there today, but we are right now sitting in an L right here with Google as it tries to break. So we're going to have to wait to see if that does hold or not. I mean, it's just kind of made that move up. We haven't averaged in a lot. I mean, you can see my average price is 202.90s right now. So we didn't really put on too much. I was actually waiting for 202. Oh no, that came to 12s. That cannot be true. We were sitting at 11s right there. We would be in the money if we got that. Wow. Oh, it must have bounced off of us. Okay, well, sometimes we get those fills like on Tesla and sometimes we don't. But right there, it looks like we do miss that right there on Google. I was at 202.11, so I don't know, on the EdgeX gateway, it looks like we must have just got missed. So we'll put it looks like it went right down to 202.11 there. So maybe we'll put another one. This is where you could use that e-signal to see like, okay, are you just like, delusional, or did it actually hit you down there or not? But
Tick replay is fantastic for that.
Yeah, and plus I can trust the fills. That's the other thing. Like I know where they're getting them all from again as well. So you'll go long NVIDIA and short Intel. That's interesting. But here comes Google right now. I am still bidding in and around those areas. So again, I don't know, Neil, how your day's going, but we're giving a little bit back right now with some Google.
Yeah, the big one for me, obviously, PDD was absolute trash. Like that's the only stock that's in the realm of like a big up or down. Everything else is like small loss, just sticking to the pattern. Obviously, we're into a new one here on trend. So it's kind of the opposite of the mean reversion because I like NVIDIA over under 115. I like the over here. I just got filled. Like Isham was talking, I just got filled in front of 117 and was getting out at 117.70. It's right back into 117.
I missed that again.
So there's a definite chance that you are trying to revert this. But I like the fact that I still like the turnaround story here. I like what we're seeing. Your stair step up. I mean, 115 was key. Then it held 116. Now it's holding 117. I'm talking about NVIDIA. I am going to cover in front of 118 with the intention of going long through 118. So I will scalp from here to here to take a long trade through the 118 level here on NVIDIA. Nothing much has changed with the Intel trade, but I'm not changing my plan of action. If it breaks a high, it breaks a high. This is not an ad unless it's underneath the trend line. It's that simple. It broke one trend, but unless it breaks a second, I cannot be adding to that position. We'll just take our one entry and then our one out through that high of the day. With any luck, if that goes, I can't see a reason why NVIDIA shouldn't be a good long off of this 117. And if we lose that, I'm still going to look long at 16, and I'm still going to look long at 15 on NVDA. Rigetti's a different story. Still have to look for a solid entry. It's probably just going to be VWAP. We like the 12 level, but we got it once, and then we lost the second time, so we're paying fees on Rigetti, and we're looking for that long, ideally a third time off of VWAP. So sticking with the same names that were in before, with the exception of not going back to PDD. We'll maybe let that one calm itself down. Those Chinese names were a little bit dicey off the open there. Let's go to Adair.
With money talks, it's not probably going to be super surprising to anyone. We're going to be focusing on tariffs and their impacts on a couple different currencies. We do have the DXY. I thought the 15-minute chart would be worth noting here because we gap up here for that US dollar. Then we get this sharp drop, and this sharp drop comes, as we do have, Claudia Sheinbaum, president of Mexico, saying that she's talked with Donald Trump and they're going to be delaying tariffs with Mexico for a month, though conversations will be ongoing. Then we get Donald Trump actually confirming that this is in fact happening. So Mexican tariffs delayed for a month. We're going to take a look here at the CAD to USD relationship, though, because that is the other country that we are waiting to hear about. And we actually have Canada pushing higher here as well on these delayed tariffs. Again, we don't know for sure if the tariffs with Canada are delayed. There was no comment on this when we did hear from Trump with regards to the Mexican tariffs. But either way, CAD here trying to bounce. We'll have to see how this all comes to fruition, but I will be providing updates as we get ongoing tariff excitement, guys. Back to you.
So much excitement coming with the tariffs. Okay, so we're just going to have to wait for Google. We bought this dip in around 202. I mean, the 50-period moving average is here. Is here at 200. We're still up high right now for the Nasdaq. Still thinking if it can hold. We'll just trade this to the downside right now. Google, watching out for that. If this breaks 201.50 where VWAP is, then we're going to get out of here. This is a longer play for me. So if you're not down with that, then scram as we decide what the right strategy is for us right now. Trying to buy dips into Google is what we're trying to do. Not what we're trying to do, what I am actually doing. So we'll wait to see if that comes in to play there for Google. I still think it'll be an okay move. Let's just wait. I mean, the Nasdaq's trying to get itself all figured out right there. I do want to have Apple make its way back northbound first. I mean, that would really get this market juiced back to the north side. So we're long right now. Google 202.80. We didn't get those bids that we wanted. I had to take something at 30 just because it keeps on bouncing off this level. But I am down here at 202.11, that same price that we said we would be at. So we'll have to wait to see if that does come in. And if it does, then we're going longer on Google. Actually, I lied. I changed it to 202.17 because we just got missed that last time. So hopefully it comes in for us and we'll be able to play the right way here on Google. But yeah, so far so good, man. Hey, look, it's been a good day. We're net positive, obviously. We've hit our goal. We hit our goal at about 948 today, given some back right now on Google, but everything else has been pretty cool. Tesla still 386. We're going to have a treat coming up very soon. More tariff talk with Rahim Alani coming up very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. That will bleed into the midday show.
That's right, and this is what we try to do. I mean, Rahim coming in, going to be able to talk high level on some tariffs, so excited for that. We'll do that in a couple of minutes here, I think, as they're just sort of setting up for now. With 5 minutes to go, it actually, I say it, that's why I said I would not add to this position on Intel unless it closed underneath that longer trend line. It just did. So opened, I should say, underneath that trend line. It just did. I'm offering at 63. Oh, and I'm offering 63.5. So 63.5 is not going to fill when it's at 62. So I'm just going to move that to 62 and catch the fill there. So now it is closed underneath the second trend line. We add into it. Still going to be bidding out down into VWAP as long as it wants to hold this top at 19.7. I'll zoom out for you. That is this high from Friday. So it's just the lower high from Friday on Intel and then a mean reversion trade, which we needed it to hold the second trend. So this first trend line, the steeper one, we got in. It then held the top, second trend line. It's almost like two trades in one, sort of like it never stopped out the first and then it set up the second. So we're now into Intel again. But NVIDIA, I don't know, NVIDIA looked really good off that 117. It still has room to what I think is resistance up here at 119, 120. So I want to stay into the long as it can hold this prior bar low 116.75. But it's starting to give it up a little bit here. Let's see if we can't get fills at or just underneath the 117 here on NVIDIA. I like the fact that it has some more room to gap up. And well, I'm just a little more bullish on this particular name. It's a nice V-shaped recovery that just needs to fill in the rest of the gap. You're above last week's lows here on NVIDIA, which I do certainly like. Rigetti, that's the other one that we're looking for, but I'm not even sure this wants to give us VWAP at this point. You're still trending up here on Rigetti. As pointed out by Sean, we do have a special guest. We've got Rahim Alani here to talk a lot about tariffs. Let's go to the desk.
Yeah, thanks so much. It is a busy day. It's an important day. We have Rahim with me over there. There he is. Thanks for coming.
Anytime.
A lot to digest coming out of the weekend, a lot to talk about. We're gonna get to tariffs, but we want to touch on India real quick here because it was a big day on Saturday, correct?
Yep, the first.
India came out with a budget, their annual budget. Tell us about it.
Yeah, this was a budget that people were long looking forward to. The Indian economy has been growing with leaps and bounds, like we've talked about. And this was a budget that was fairly well received across almost all sectors, almost all groups. A couple of big things to take away there is the first is they're going to be doing zero tax for anybody making below 12 lakhs, which is the equivalent of about $15,000. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but what it does is two things. One is it institutionalizes that lower salaried person that's making less than 15,000 US to now bring their money into the institution, into the banking framework to do those sorts of things, which is important. And B, what it does, again, it reduces the threshold for tax for anybody that was already paying tax on that amount, reduces them to actually not have to pay tax anymore. So from a stock point of view, you might want to look at a couple of things from that area. Banking-wise, you might want to look at some banking stocks because that they may see a good touch point, as well as not just the staple goods, like those were always getting bought anyway, whether it's soap or dishes or whatever, but looking more at FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods. You might want to look at somebody that's a chip company or somebody that's into maybe a higher-end soap or diapers or things like that, where you've got a little bit more money now coming into the system. You might see some of those things happening.
And you mentioned farming as well, which is kind of interesting.
Yes.
Is that industry in India one of their biggest exports, first of all, and then more money coming towards farming?
Yeah, so there are going to be kind of how we have here, like if you're going to buy a certain amount, like CapEx matching programs and things like that. So a lot of money coming in to support farming. And why that's important is nearly half of India's actual population, so 600 million people, are employed or, to some extent, are employed in actual farming. So India's got massive farming, whether it comes wheat, whether it's tea, all across the place. Farming is a big, big business in India, and so government is supporting that as well. So you're going to see, again, a lot more CapEx potentially coming into farming and the modernization, excuse me. I was going to say modernization of farming might come into India in this decade.
As a takeaway, I guess, or a standout, was there anything that really jumped off the page saying that wasn't expected as far as this budget goes?
I think, again, just wanting to support India's large growth numbers are big. One thing that some of the chatter was interesting was, given COVID and beyond, our government, Canada here especially, but a lot of governments had continued to give subsidies and different kinds of almost free money. I hate to call it free money, but almost free money because we paid for it. But you know what I mean. It was free money in a way. And what India has done differently is they've actually started to reduce subsidies, done these tax programs, and now India's actually gone to pre-COVID level in terms of the subsidies that they had given away.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's a big number as well for India to now, again, build its economy and its federal budget infrastructure.
Okay, when it comes to, we talk a lot on the show when Raheem's with us about mining, about the material side of things on this side of the border. The Canadian market made up a lot with commodities, materials, mining, things like that. What was your takeaway this weekend when these headlines came across 25% on basically everything?
When I dropped in the other day, and I didn't actually expect it to actually go through. I was like, it's posturing, and then it happened.
Yeah.
So here we are. I think everyone's still waiting to see the fallout. I think Canada and certain provinces in Canada have taken the stance that we as Canadians, or as Ontarians as an example, like our Premier Ford has said, is we can actually do damage back to the U.S. because there's so much cross-border trade. And I'm sure you guys have gone through the numbers, but there are going to be a number of sectors that are going to be very interesting. And again, whether it's auto parts, whether it's mining, whether it's oil and gas and energy. And it's kind of funny, like, oh yeah, we're going to tariff everything. But your energy is still okay. We'll still take that. We'll take that at 10 points. Don't worry about that. We'll just let that one go. And it's like, I don't know how that's gonna work. But Alberta, I mean, they'll make the decisions on that, and Ontario will make decisions on minerals. And like we just said off camera, I was watching one of Trump's speeches when he was sitting at the desk signing stuff, and At the end, he said, yeah, we're going to go after energy, and we might even go after copper. And I was like, that's a weird thing to want to do. It was a very specific thing. The U.S. does have one of the largest copper deposits around, but a lot of them are in environmentally protected areas. He tried to reverse that, especially in Alaska. I tried to do that. I talked about that a couple of years ago. So it'll be interesting to see what the U.S. does with respect to some of these materials. How are they going to source it? Right now, currently, they do send oil and gas to Mexico. They import a ton from Canada. And so it sounds great, rah, 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 U.S., but then when your gas price goes up at the pump, and that affects your pocketbook, and particularly if this goes into the summer, where Europe starts to drive again and Europe starts to go more for consumption, then you're competing for Canadian oil and gas.
Right.
And does that have that detrimental effect? So now is OPEC Plus, are they going to play a role in alleviating that supply demand issue? So there's a lot of macro moving parts that kids, if you went to school, this is when it's going to pay off. All those macroeconomics textbooks that we had, this is when it's going to pay off, because there's a lot of moving parts that we don't know where things are going to suss out, where they're going to end up. And each government has their own levers that they're going to pull. But the one that's, what we always talk about, when there's chaos, gold moves. And gold's moved to the upside here today. Again, that's for the producers, but just as a general commodity, when there is that chaos, we see that happen.
Is there, so gold on the positive side of things, if we look the other direction, is there an area specifically of the Canadian market you're most concerned about?
Well, I think just given our reliance on the U.S., so I mean, you can just Google it up or whatever platform you use, Elon it up, and find the right place. I think we have to say that now, right? I think we're required by law. I think that's part of the tariff program. You look it up and find what our top exposures to the U.S. are going to be. Again, we talked about this months ago. We're a cold weather climate, so if you like strawberries, you like oranges, you like avocados, all of those things come from certain places south of where we are. So that's going to affect Canadians for sure, and each province is going to have to tackle that challenge independently. Like as an example, Ontario and BC said they're pulling all American booze off the shelves. So if you're a big, really committed bourbon fan, you might have an issue.
It's going to be tough, we'll get into more Canadian-related opportunities maybe. Raheem's going to join us back again on Wednesday for our regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, happy to drop in. Trade weekend, Luka Doncic too. I think he went somewhere. That was another big trade that was unaffected by the tariff.
I don't even know if these guys mentioned it this morning, but yeah, it was huge. Good to see you.
Take care, guys.
Let's go to the midday.
We added 100 new subscribers.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade During the Midday. That is your boy Joey Options, and there goes Adara from the side.